Good morning to everybody. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
আওয়াজ আসছে না কেন? সঞ্জয়কে ডাকুন স্যার। আওয়াজ আসছে না তো? হ্যাঁ, আমাকে একটু আগে 11টা অবধি থাকতে হবে। কেন বলো তো? একটা সেমিনার হচ্ছে, আমি ইন্ট্রোডিউস করে তবে দেবো। তুমি কোন দিকে যাবে? বেলেঘাটা ওই ইয়েতে ওই ও ঠিক আছে, আমার সাথে চলে যাবে। আমি ওইটা দিয়ে যাবো আজকে।
মালা ম্যাম, বলছি যে কিছু স্টুডেন্টস জয়েন করতে পারছে না, অ্যালাউ করা হচ্ছে না, একটু কাইন্ডলি দেখবেন।
মার্সি, তুমি কি শুনতে পাচ্ছ?
অনেক স্যার। হ্যাঁ স্যার।
আমি কিন্তু কোনো আওয়াজ পাচ্ছি না এখানে।
স্যার স্লাইডে কোনো আওয়াজ নেই, শুধু শো হচ্ছে।
তো স্লাইড গুলো এখন প্রেজেন্ট করছে তো? আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, ঠিক আছে।
Good morning, one and all. On behalf of Umeschandra College, I welcome you all in this national webinar organized by the Department of English and IQAC, Umeschandra College, Kolkata. The theme of today's webinar is ELT and Communicative English, and this is my great privilege to introduce 4 eminent resource persons from different corners of the country. Dr. Madhab Ray, JNU, New Delhi, Dr. SatyawanPolist from Government College for Women, Ambala, Dr. SaquibAbrar from Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh, and Professor SameenaTabussum from Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Hyderabad. We all are eagerly waiting for a scholarly presentation from them. Now, I would like to introduce the members of the organizing committee. Professor Marcy Hembram, Assistant Professor of English, Umeschandra College, Convener. Professor Ishan Kormokar, Assistant Professor of English, Umeschandra College, Treasurer. Professor Srotoshini De, Member. Dr. Shabana Banerjee, Member. Professor Sohini Som, Member. Professor Basanta Barman, Member. Professor Prokriti Ranjan Das, IQAC Coordinator, Mentor, and at last but not the least, Dr. Muhammad Tofazzal Haq, Honorable Principal, Chief Patron of this webinar. Now I would like to request our Honorable Principal, sir, to deliver his welcome address. Over to you, sir, please.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Barman. Good morning to all distinguished guests, colleagues, and my dear students. I welcome you all to our national webinar on ELT and Communicative English, organized by the Department of English in collaboration with IQAC, Umeschandra College. There is a saying that English is a local language for global village, my global village. The goal of this webinar is to address the place and role of English as a world language, as well as deliberating on the various approaches to teaching English as a communicative language. Umeschandra College belongs to city group of colleges. It is situated in the prime location in the city of Kolkata. Since our college is only able to offer the undergraduate BCom program at present, both honors and general, it is our endeavor that students graduating from this college can confidently use the English language in their daily communication, their studies, and their workplace, since English language presents factor in the future competitive world. However, we do not want to limit ourselves to simply providing students with English language skills. We also want to reflect on teaching and learning theories and practices that need to be examined, adapted, and innovated to meet the increasingly complex demands of the learners. I repeat the words, the increasingly complex demands of the learners. You know this very well. We hope that after this webinar, our students are able to first participate in group discussions and interviews with greater confidence, especially during their campus interview. Second, they will be able to learn how to enhance their language skills by using interactive multimedia course materials such as lectures. Third, gain the skills and knowledge required to take on leadership roles. I will not take much time because all the participants are very much awaiting for the lectures to be delivered by our honorable resource persons. But I convey my thanks to the organizing committee, Department of English, and the IQAC of Umeschandra College, particularly Mr. Prakriti Ranjan Das, head of the Department of English, and convener Marcy Hembram, and other members of English department. My special thanks to our 4 eminent resource persons. They have come all the way to help us. Dr. Madhab Ray from Jawaharlal Nehru University, Dr. SatyawanPolist from Government Women College, Ambala, Dr. SaquibAbrar from Aligarh Muslim University, and Professor SameenaTabussum from Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Hyderabad. All the resource persons, sirs and madams, we are really happy to have you here. And it is my strong belief that your gracious presence will make this webinar a grand success. Once again, I would like to convey all the participants, teachers, students, and the organizing committee. And I hope this webinar will be a successful one. Thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammad Tofajjal Haq, Honorable Principal and Chief Patron of this webinar, for your precise and univocal speech. Now, before going to the next session, I would like to mention one more thing before the audience. If you have any question during the discussion today, the easiest way to let me know is to write in the chat box, and we must try to interact with you and your question during the interaction session at the end of every lecture. Now, this is my privilege to invite Dr. Madhab Ray to deliver his keynote address. Dr. Madhab Ray is an assistant professor in language School of Languages, Literature and Culture Studies, JNU, New Delhi. Professor Ray did his MA and PhD in linguistics from JNU. He authored 6 books and more than 15 research papers in different peer-reviewed journals. His research areas are applied linguistics, morphology, field linguistics, folklore, language and politics, and discourse analysis. He has delivered talks in many places in India and presented more than 40 research papers in different national and international seminars and conferences. He has conducted field work in various lesser-known languages in India, to name a few: Garhwali, Umayuni, Dhundari, Shekhawati, Awadhi, and Rajvanshi. Dr. Madhab Ray teaches postgraduate students, and subjects of his teaching are Introduction to Linguistics, Morphological and Syntactic Analysis, Generative Morphology, Applied Linguistics, Introduction to Stylistics, Discourse Analysis, Issues in Linguistic Theory, South Asia as a Linguistic Area, and Language Typology. For MPhil and PhD students, he teaches research methodology, structure of lesser-known languages, applied linguistics, and language documentation and description. Dr. Ray has edited and published a number of books also. He edited Linguistics and Language Sciences, Issues and Perspectives in General and Applied Linguistics. In Rajvanshi language, he has published Niti Kathar Golpo, a collection of moral stories, Pil Pil Kil Bil, and Kutur Kutur Kuttu Kutur, 2 books on Rajvanshi rhymes, Bhurut Bawai, a collection of Rajvanshi poems, and Dhuplung Dhaplang, a collection of Rajvanshi short stories. Now, I would like to request Dr. Madhab Ray to deliver his keynote address, please, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Vasanta Burman, and as well as the college authority, the organizers, to invite me and deliver this keynote address. And thank you so much to Dr. Chief Patron of this seminar, webinar, Dr. Muhammad Tafazul Haq, and the convener, Professor Marcy Embrom, and also the coordinator, IQAC coordinator, Professor Prakriti Ranjan Das, and also other speakers, so to say, in this one-day seminar. So, Dr. SatyawanPolist, Dr. Muhammad SaquibAbrar, and Professor SameenaTabussum. Thank you so much, and also a very good morning to all the participants, those who are joining, students. Namaskar, Shubhrabhat. So this is where the theme of the conference is ELT and Communicative English. So ELT and Communicative English, and I've been asked to speak on this subject, mainly ELT and Communicative English. So before I start my talk, let me just share my screen. I think you would be able to see what is there. I prepared some PowerPoints, some slides. So whether you can see my screen or not, just please let me know whether is it visible or not. So can you just see my screen?
Yes, it is visible.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. Thank you so much once again. And so it's been my kind of honor as well, to address this August gathering and to speak on this subject, ELT and Communicative English. And our principal, he has already said that English is not only an international language or the foreign language for India, especially if you talk about it's a local language as well as a global language. So he has already said the tune of this seminar, you see, saying this only one word. And also that especially if you talk about Indian Constitution, it's one of the official language, official language of India, and for different purposes in national, international, interstate. It's the language of our, let's say, parliament, let's say, and also the court for that matter, law, and different places, you see. So these are the things really interesting. So we need to learn English, you see. And also for interstate communication also, we really depend on English. So if you're from Kolkata, definitely going to South India to some extent, yeah, so we prefer English than Hindi to some extent, you know. So that is another kind of things, why Hindi, why not Hindi. So the whole debate is too much there. But anyway, so I'll be talking about mainly ELT and communicative English, not necessarily communicative English, but mostly why communicative English and the notion which was developed by, let's say, initially, let's say, competence, and from there extended by Delheim's, you know, the concept of communicative competence, and from communicative competence, how these models of communicative English were designed, you know, later on after 1970s and all, you see. So this is where, so mostly the time allotted to me, so I will be try to talk about these aspects. So ELT, English language teaching, little bit of the history, let's say, and also how in linguistics, how it started, and slowly and gradually it spread in different places. It's okay. So, and this is what I teach. You know, I'm from Center for Linguistics, School of Language, Literature, and Cultural Studies, Jawaharlal University, New Delhi. Okay, so this is, so in case if you think you want to reach me even after the presentation, you see, so this is my email ID, hmray@jnu.ac.in. So please mail me. So you're welcome. Okay. So now that's what I told you. So what I'm going to talk about today in this, let's say, somewhere around 45 minutes to 50 minutes talk. That's what. So. So introduction, mainly what is English, and the kind of introduction, mainly talk about introduction, nearly about 5 to 10 minutes, 5 minutes, let's say, and then English language teaching, the history, how it started, this whole ELT business, somehow in UK as well as in America, USA, and the notions of communicative English and communicative English, especially in different parts of the world, and mostly in India, let's say, you know, and what kind of courses are designed, you know. Briefly, I'll talk about that, and as well as I told you, the notion competence, which was used by Noam Chomsky, and from there, Delheim's somewhere around 1967 extended the notion of competence to communicative competence, and especially teaching second language, whether it's English and other languages. So communicative competence is taken as a kind of main focus, so to say, you see, and so. And let's say some summary and conclusion and some observations. So what to do, how we teach a particular language, the second language, let's say, whether it could be English, French, or any other language for that matter, you see. So we'll try to talk about that, and best or effective way, how can we teach a particular language, you see. Which methods are very, very effective to some extent, you see. Can we say that grammar translation method, or let's say audiolingual method, or communicative method, or other total physical response, or whichever the methods available or adopted by the teacher, which is the most effective methods, you know. So this brief light on that as well. So now if we look at that, something like objectives of language learning, why I should learn English, why I should learn French for that matter, you see. So people can have different kind of objective to learn a second language, you see. So it's some people, and mainly, you know, to communicate, and not only communicate, also to get job. So there could be different kind of objectives, you know, to learn a second language, if you look at it, you see. So the objectives of language learning could be whether you learn them for need-filling reasons or for reasons for prestige. You know, there could be different reasons, you know, need-filling reasons. So it may help you to get a better job, or enable you to travel abroad, or become a translator or interpreter. You can have different kind of objective. And also the social mobility. You speak, let's say, dialect or variety of a language, and you want to learn a standard variety of the language. Even in English, even if you talk about, let's say, British English, there was a time people were learning British variety more. And nowadays, people are more aspiring to the American variety. So because of different reasons, social mobility is one of the factors also. You learn a particular dialect or variety, and you want to switch to the standard variety, because the standard variety provides lots of jobs and opportunities, you know. So social mobility could be also one of the reasons, you see. So Rivers suggested, you know, 6 categories why we can learn different language for that matter. So maybe develop intellectual powers, read classical literature. I want to enjoy Tolstoy, Pushkin, Shakespeare for that matter, you see. or philosophy, or personal growth for that matter, kind of intellectual kind of powers, you see. Understand how language function. That could be also one of the reasons. Especially linguists are really interesting, you know. If you talk about how language functions, what kind of comparison and contrast we can draw from languages and all, you see. So, and also, let's say, engage in reading competition, essay type competition, different kind of competition, as you know that it happens in different colleges and university. It happens in JNU as well, you know, state level and the national level as well. So to understand people abroad at foreign countries for that matter, if you're learning French, let's say you want to understand something like foreign countries, you know, France, let's say their culture and all, you know, so many things for that. Or maybe you want to develop your oral or writing skills, you know. So if you remember that we always talk about 4 skills. So speaking, writing, listening. So always we talk about 4 skills, you know. So either the oral skills or the writing skills, you see. So that could be different kind of reasons, and Rivers suggested 6 categories, you know, especially for objectives of language learning. Now, if we talk about how it started long earlier, but somehow if you look at the systematic approach, how this whole ELT business came into picture, and this is where you have to go back to a little bit of history, and that's where the applied linguistics started. Let's say somewhere especially during the after the First World War, there was a trend. People are learning foreign languages, other languages. People they have to learn the language of the others to spy people, basically to get the information from their enemies. You see, so that trend started somewhere around 1920s and all. Prior to that as well, but somehow if you look at exactly the systematic way it started after this is the time 1940s and all, you know. So it started. In Europe and United States and US, so applied linguistics began narrowly as the application of insights from structural linguistics. So if some people are aware of structural linguistics, Ferdinand de Saussure and other people, you see the kind of structural inputs they got from. So all these people, Bloomfield, Charles C. Fries, Robert Lado, you know, many people, let's say, involved there. And now, and this is the time, 1948, the first language learning journal of applied linguistics were, let's say, established, and it was also published. And that's the first journal, you know, and in different places. So there is Washington, D.C., and also in Edinburgh, and in different places, you know. So the trend starting somewhere, if you look at in 1940s and all, you see, and it spread different parts of the world. So this is somewhere applied linguistics. If we talk about applied linguistics, that's what, especially in linguistics, we talk about. So 1940s to 1960s, this is the time. So applied linguistics mostly concerned with something like language assessment, language policy, and second language acquisition. Second language acquisition, we're talking about second language learning. It could be English language learning or something, you see. So, and this is the time mostly. So applied linguistics, people were talking about language teaching, more or less, only language teaching, you see. Though later on we had seen the scope of applied linguistics had expanded so far, you know, in different areas, you see. But especially this is the time we talked about language teaching or second language teaching for that matter, you see. Now, English language teaching, this is the, that's what the seminar, if you talk about English language teaching, ELT. So there are different names for that matter. Second language acquisition we talk about. These are the broad term we use. Second language teaching, second language acquisition, applied linguistics. So TEFL, you know, teaching English as a foreign language, teaching of English as a second language in India also. And this is where mainly today's lecture, I'll try to focus on teaching of English as a second language in India. And there are different kind of courses, communicative English courses, ESP courses, English for specific purposes, depend on what you do. Let's say whether you are a medical practitioner or someone else. Let's say for medical practitioners, you may need different kind of so to say genre, different kind of things, you know, to communicate. So English for specific purposes were also started, and different courses were also developed by the teachers for that matter. You see, so teaching of English mainly, if you talk about teaching as a second language in India. And this is where I'll just briefly talk about a little bit of history, how it started teaching of English as a second language in India. So English language, as we all understand, we all know that the language of its opportunity, the social status, and increasing social elasticity, we all know, expand the distance between the elite and the ostracized, We know that, you see. And so this Timothy says that it's not only important in getting a better job, it's everywhere in social interaction. If you can't speak it, then you are nobody. Try to understand that. That's what the teaching of English, therefore, has to be planned for more carefully. Children should achieve a respectable level of competence in English without misplacing their mother tongue. That's also a concern, you see. Like only teaching English, and what will happen to our native languages? What will happen to our mother tongue? So that's what Timothy and all linguists like us have the concern that what will happen to our mother tongues, you know. So it should not misplace our mother tongues, our roots, you know, our traditions, you know, for that matter. So it should be planned. So we linguists always talk about MLE, multilingual education, you see. So it keeps English side by side, but at the same time, do not ignore the importance of your native language or your mother tongue, you see. So that's really important. Now, if we talk about history of teaching of English, you know, teaching of English as English in India, second language in India especially. So this is the time, you know, pre-independent India. If you look at Britishers, so that's the period, you know, and so English remained the language of domination. We know that status and privilege in India, and English people, they wanted that, you know, class of administrative officers, class of complaint civil servants, you know. So we all know this, you know, to some extent. And but there is something like Britishers felt that Western education would empower Indians to challenge the foreign rule. And due to political prerequisite, they started encouraging Indians to continue with their native language, native culture for that matter. You know. And so the whole thing, the classical learning, you know, mainly if you look at so the Britishers, they adopted Orientalism or encouragement of classical learning for their educational policy. And so this approach, to some extent, many missionaries, they opposed it, you see. And so we know that kind of history, you know, and Edward Said also one of them. So talk about Orientalism, the kind of demeaning conceptions of Arab and Asian culture, you know, how Britishers viewed Indians for that matter, or Asians, you know. Edward Said, you know, talk about in his book Orientalism, you know, and so that kind of views and all. Anyway, so whatever happened, somehow we are being introduced to English, let's say, and in Indian context, if you look at so Raja Ramon Roy, so eminent person, Renaissance figure in Bengal, in India for that matter, you see. So desired English for academic, scientific, and other international reasons for Indians, you see. So not only so most of the Renaissance figures back there, this is the time. If you know that, so other thinkers also that English felt the superiority of English education. They even expressed the view that teaching of mere Hindu or Mohammedan literature meant the teaching of a great deal of what was frivolous, not a little of what was purely mischievous, and a small reminder indeed in which it really was in any way concerned. And so this is what most of the Renaissance figures, we know that they favored English, and Macaulay even for that matter. And so though Macaulay's minutes is like in a way it's a totally started this, you know, kind of replacing Persian. 1835 of modern education through English was passed, and it replaced the Persian, because that the Persian was the language of law for those days, you see. And so this is where we understand what, and then this is what the Magna Carta of Indian education would dispatch, you know, 1854. We all know that, and this is where most interesting things, you know, happened. And mainly, if you look at somewhere, especially in India, there are 5 universities were, you know, set up initially, and after that, you know, Bombay, Calcutta, Madras, Punjab, and Allahabad, you know. So these places it was set up. So the English language is to be the medium of instruction in the higher branches, and the vernacular in the lower. Vernacular is that all those state languages for that matter. Those days it was not state, but mainly, you know, whichever Bangla and other languages for that matter, you see. So English is to be taught where there is a demand for it, but it is not to be substituted for the vernacular language of the country. That's what the approach they took, you see. So this resulted into a spread of schools and colleges, which ultimately resulted in the increase of more number of Indians who achieved mastery in English language. So this is where the Gandhiji, Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, so what kind of views he had, just briefly talking about. He also gave importance to English. So what he says that English today is studied because of its commercial and so-called political values. Our boys and girls think that without English, they cannot get government services. Look at the attitude of the people at that. Girls are taught English as a passport to marriage as well. I know husbands who are sorry that their wives cannot talk to them and their friends in English. I know families in which English is being met, the mother tongue. All these are, for me, signs of slavery and degradation. Look at the kind of attitude. But he definitely gives importance to English, at the same time other foreign languages. So he says that I don't want my house to be walled in all sides and my windows to be stuffed. I want the cultures of all the lands to be blown about my house as freely as possible. I would have our young men and women with literary taste to learn as much of English and other world languages. It's not only English and other world languages, French, Chinese, whichever, Russian, as they like, and expect them to give the benefits of their learning to India and to the world. So this is what, and now post-independence period, if you look at, and we know the whole history for that matter, the foreign language status of English in India thus appears to have remained for a shorter period of time. In India, it's not the foreign language, So that's what Professor Tafazzal Haq was saying, the local and global. So that foreign language, it remained for a short period of time in India, and it gradually seems to have acquired the status of a second language. It became the status of second language. And later on, it became mother tongue, native language of many people, many Indians for that matter, you see. So English as a foreign language refers to a situation. So what is foreign language and what is a second language? So we all understand what is foreign language, what is second language. So if you talk about second language, so English as a second language refers to a situation where English is used widely for purposes of administration, education as a common link language. So this is where second language, but in India's case, English is, in many people, is the third language, as well as it is the mother tongue of many people in India. Even in census, if you look at, many people reports that English is their mother tongue. And it happens, especially in different metropolitan cities. If you look at it, you see. And many couples who are, let's say, married, intercaste marriage, intercultural marriage as well, definitely the child is learning English. Tamil, let's say Tamil getting married to Bengali, and what would be the common language? English. I had seen many people, their especially children, they speak in English, not any other language for that matter. So it is the mother tongue of many. So on the other hand, one of the eminent figure in Indian polity and politics, if you look at Baba Sahib Ambedkar, B.R. Ambedkar, and his views mainly, he favored English, but at the same time, the kind of approach he has took and he has taken is really praiseworthy. And so whole the reorganization of states and all. So if you are interested, you can read that a small volume. So 1955, reorganization of Indian states and all, So this is where one state and one language kind of idea. He was talking about one state and one language, but it is not possible. He's giving examples from different nations for that matter, whether you talk about Germany, whether you talk about France, whether you talk about USA. He said that one state, one language is the rule in those places. But what about India? They're talking about pluricentrism, multilingual kind of multi-diversity. We do have an Indian continent for that matter. So can we have this kind of one state and one language? So he talks about these things in a different way, and this is where you want to understand Ambedkar in a way that he is saying that yes, we do respect all our whichever the state languages we are talking about, but at the same time, for national integrity, we should at least communicate, or Hindi should be our language, So this is where, so since Indians wish to unite and develop a common culture, it is bounden duty of all Indians to honor Hindi as their language. So this is what B.R. Ambedkar is talking about. And this is the last line, and you can see that still it is how relevant, and an Indian who doesn't accept this proposal as part and parcel of a linguistic state has no right to be an Indian. he may be 100% Maharashtrian, 100% Tamil, or 100% Gujarati, but he cannot be an Indian in the real sense of the word, except in a geographical sense. So, in my suggestion, is not accepted. If my suggestion is not accepted, India will then cease to be India. It will be a collection of different nationalities engaged in rivalries and wars against one another. And to some extent, if you look at the kind of prediction what B.R. Ambedkar way back in 1955 was talking about, and this is what we had seen, that the kind of 8 scheduled languages. So earlier, if you talk about 8 scheduled languages, 15 were there, then 3 added, it became 18, now 22, and there are many people, for that matter, different language group, different communities are kind of putting forward that, okay, why our language is not in the 8th schedule of our constitution, you see. So there are many things, and that is that's what I find to some extent, you see, the kind of relevance of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, you know. So, and we all know English is definitely for better opportunities, what is being discussed to some extent. Increased English proficiency are considered instrumental in fetching well-paid job opportunities. The language that's got recognized as an important link language for national and international purposes. And mostly Indian context, if you look at hard and sincere efforts of the central and the state governments, Hindi could not yet become the link language in India. Hindi, and could not become, it's not a national language, Rashtriya Bhasha, Rashtra Bhasha Noy. Hindi is not the national language, you see. Many people have the misconception that is the Hindi is the national language. No, it's not the national language. So in view of the strong opposition in Hindi in the southern states, also in Bengal for that matter, there is a strong opposition, you know. So, and we know that Hindi in Devanagari script was declared as the official language of the Union, and English was also given the status of the subsidiary official language of the Indian. And so it is the language where we see in different places, parliament, court, law, media, in different places. And especially for linguistic or language rights, you see Article 343 to 351, everything has been enshrined there. And in addition to the 8 scheduled languages, English is not one of the 8 scheduled languages, you know, for that matter. Hindi is the 8 scheduled language, but English is not. But if you look at the kind of superstratum status English has, you know, in compared to Hindi, you know, to some extent, you see, though it's not the scheduled language, you know. And now this is the next part of my talk, and I'll take 10 minutes. And so on the other hand, the kind of English language teaching we're talking about, so what kind of methods, what kind of approaches were adopted by the teachers, a foreign language teacher or second language teacher, and these are the methods. One of the methods is grammar translation method or classical method of language teaching, you know, and direct method, audiolingual method, communicative method, computer assisted language learning, reading method, situational method, community language learning, the natural approach, you know, different methods and approaches were adopted by the teachers or by a particular institute for that matter, if you look at it, you see. And today, it's a class somewhere, this lecture, we're talking about communicative English, and communicative English give emphasis to mainly the communicative function of the language, you know, and takes the approach, especially the communicative approach. And this is where the communicative approach, this is the University of Calcutta. I think you, especially your college, I am not sure whether it is associated or with University of Calcutta, but if you look at University of Calcutta, the kind of communicative English syllabus they do have, and it says that, it clearly says that to develop communicative competence in students, communicative competence, you see, and what are other kind of objectives you do have to guide the students to establish self-employment strategies, you know, job roles, you know, collect, analyze data, some of this kind of objectives you see, but main thing is communicative competence. So, and mainly different universities, you will find that English department, they do offer communicative English courses, and IITs also, when this humanities were introduced for that matter, you see humanities and social sciences, they are also communicative English, business English are being offered in different places, communicative skills. Especially in JNU also, we have this linguistic empowerment cell, and we talk about linguistic empowerment cell. We do not talk about only English in our understanding. So we have a linguistic empowerment cell. So people, if they have any problem, you know, especially in their language, so how they can empower themselves, you see, So it's not only about English, we talk about other languages as well, So in JNU, we have linguistic empowerment cell, and there are some teachers also. We also provide training to our office staff, and let's say many students, they come from different kind of regional background to improve them, their communication skills also. JNU, LEC offers and conducts different kind of courses, back here. So communicative methods and communicative, so this is where the notions, as I was talking about. So the communicative method and communicative competence. So the two major aspects or parts of language teaching. So one is grammatical competence, another is communicative competence. Now, if we look at grammatical competence, where Chomsky will give that kind of focus or emphasis for that matter. So most of the methods of language teaching have been giving primary to the grammatical competence. Even if you talk about grammar translation method, we are giving importance to grammatical competence, not the communicative competence. So whereas the communicative approach to language teaching promises development of communicative competence, So that's what the aim. So now communicative competence, if you look at communicative competence, includes the aspect of language knowledge, such as, among others, knowing how to use language for a range of different purposes and different functions. So it's not only about one kind of different purposes and different kind of function. How to use variation, language variation also plays a really important role. Language according to the setting and the participants, knowing when to use formal and when to use informal, when to use language appropriately for written as opposed to spoken communication. Because we know that spoken communication and written communication is different. So these are all this kind of nuances, subtleties you need to know. Knowing how to produce and understand different types of text, whether it's narrative, reports, interviews, conversation. And that's what in Calcutta University syllabus also you will see that report writing, how to write report, how to write letter, précis, and other things also. They also teach. Knowing how to maintain communication despite having limitations is one language knowledge. We all have limitations for that matter. Even if you have limitations, how to communicate effectively, though you have limitations to, let's say, limited vocabulary, even after that. So communicative competence, as I was talking about, this concept is introduced by Delheims, 1976, and Chomsky, though introduced it, especially competence. We're talking about the grammatical competence, what you know about the language, So that's kind of mental grammar he's talking about, universal grammar he talks about, So I have the competence. If I'm Bangla speaker, definitely I have the competence of Bangla, So Delheims introduced, expanded the notion of competence and uses the term communicative competence. So communicative competence or communicative capability is also known as communicative competence, includes the following competences. So that grammatical competence is there, speech competence, how to speak, let's say, technical competence, how to use particular tool and technologies, that's also important, Like say I'm delivering a lecture here and using this laptop also. So if I do not know, so all these things does matter. Sociolinguistic competence, whom am I speaking? Am I speaking to the principal or my friend or a student? So what kind of, whether in Bangla, whether I should address to me or apni, I should know that. In Bangla, in English, we do not have this, let's say, distinction. You is for everything, formal, informal, or neutral. But in Bangla, let's say somebody is speaking Bangla, you have to be very, very specific. Whom are you addressing? Whom are you speaking? So this is where the linguistic aspects and the pragmatic aspects, and that's what communicative competence will take things from the pragmatic aspect, the context of language use. So the context, let's say, context really plays important role. So where the initial grammar translation methods and all, if you looking the left side, phonology, the grammatical description, grammar, vocabulary, mostly, this aspects. But here we have to look at the language in use, the kind of context, the kind of variation, the kind of interaction skill, the kind of cultural framework. We need to know cultural framework for that matter, English culture is different, Bengali culture is different, Hindi culture is different to some extent, So these are the norms and nuances also we need to know. So the context and pragmatics, especially plays a really important role if you're talking about this aspect, So man's communicative system is the contract social of that I, thou, involving a mediation process. So language is not happening somewhere in the isolation. Try to understand that, So there is always the I and thou context. You, let's say you, I and you kind of context. There is always a mediation process. Language is not a monologue for that matter. Yeah, that monologue can happen. We do speak. in kind of maybe, dream as well, or maybe different Shakespearean drama and tragedy or comedy. Maybe people speak, the characters they speak. We also speak at times, but if you look at language, it's always somewhere happening in I and thou context. Though I am sitting here, let's say speaking, nobody is here, let's say, just but you guys are here. So there is always the I and thou context, you see. So there is a mediation process going on. So if you look at the Latin word communication, communis means common. We try to establish something commonness by sharing, exchanging, interacting with others. Communication is always a two-way process, you see. Try to understand that. So there is a sender. Let's end the sender here. There is a medium. So let's say now it's the online medium, the written one, as well as the spoken one. Both is going on. And also the receiver, let's see you are the receiver. So what I sent here, which was the medium here, you decode something. And also let's say something is not understood or whether, so you give also feedback. And it's always somewhere, it's not something like, if you look at it, also, it's not really the sender, or remains always sender. He could be also a receiver. You can also speak, and then I will be the receiver, So communication, it can happen to one to many, many to one, or many to many, So that can happen, you see. And now for the time being, let's say one to many, or many to one. That's okay also. So communication system, the kind of I and thou perspective, what we are talking about, and if you talk about the speaker and the hearer, so so you have this vocal language. Vocal is basically the linguistic and some kind of paralinguistic things are involved. Let's say eyebrows and other things. Let's say expressions, nodding, head nodding. Whether you are nodding this way or that way. It's all these things. So linguistic, non-linguistic, non-vocal as well. So there are many things you see. So this is where speaker and the hearer. So I and thou perspective, question and answer perspective, utterance and response perspective. So all that kind of mediation process, intersubjectivity, intersubjective, objective things are going on. And this is where, so it is the contract social kind of I-thou involving a mediation process. And so there is a mediation process. And Plato, according to Plato, has defined language as occurring between question and answer. For Ferdinand the Saussure, father of modern linguistics, let's say, he talks about I and thou perspective, the I and thou perspective we are talking about. And Kenneth L. Pike talk about utterances and responses, So this is where the reciprocity, I thou perspective, who says what? Plato, Saussure, and Kenneth L. Pike, you see. And language is a dialogue rather than a monologue. Yeah, so this is where another thing. And it is the intersubjective objectivity that relates the speaker to the hearer with an interchange of roles. So you are a speaker, I am a speaker now, I can be a hearer, So once you start speaking, so interchange of roles are definitely taking place, So the types of communication, even if you talk about, there could be different types of communication. It could be verbal. So verbal, non-verbal, and spoken, written, facial expression, gestures, body language, tone, dress also. So these are some of the paralinguistic things, some of the non-verbal things also talks a lot about cultural aspects, you see. So especially in communicative English also, we also talk about this, you see. There are certain things. In addition to language, the formal structure of the language, there are other things. That's also important. It also conveys different kind of messages, you see. So this is where, so it could be online communication, or maybe mixture of telephone, mobile, internet, social networking sites, and etc. And that what could be the types of communication in general. So, and this is the area, if you look at it, the kind of barriers, and this is where many people, many Indians have problem with, especially talking to the foreigners or Europeans for that matter, because their cultural perspective is different than ours, you see. So there are certain things, you see. And so one thing is that the differences, let's say, standard language was a dialect difference. The kind of English they speak, and we speak different kind of Indian English. Indian English is different, you see. And so that difference, or maybe there are some kind of slang, or kind of taboo words, different perception of the same word, maybe the same word is perceived in a different way also. That could be the one reasons. Body language also. Body language is also really important if we talk about eye contact, let's say, and more eye contact, especially Europeans, than less eye contact. Latin Americans more close to the audience, especially the tactile nature. You must have seen that many when they speak, especially the I and thou perspective, there has to be certain kind of gap. Let's say, whom are you speaking? You have to maintain certain kind of distance. You should not be tactile. So there are many cultures. They are more tactile. They are very close when they speak. You see the body space and all. So this is also one of the aspects we have to incorporate. Let's say when you are teaching, we have to tell our students that okay, this is also really important. You see, it's not only the language. There are other cultural aspects, value of time, deadlines, and punctuality also. So this is also how we conceptualize time also. Different cultures look at this in a different way. That part also we need to know. Expressions of emotions also to some extent. So how we express our emotions. Different cultures, they also express emotions in a more different way, So some are more expressive, some are less expressive. So that aspects also we need to understand, or there are different kind of stereotypes or prejudice also you can have also, and about a culture. So something cultural expectations if we talk about, and that is what we talk about cross-cultural pragmatics for that matter. You see, let's say in English culture, if somebody says some people gather together and they're thinking of having dinner, and it's a kind of joint kind of dinner, and if someone says that okay, bring a plate to the party. So bring a plate to the party doesn't mean that you are bringing an empty plate to the party. So that means you need to bring food for that matter, you see. So that's the cultural aspect, you see. So let's say somebody does not understand that kind of cultural norms or expectations or traditions, he is going to have communicative blunder for that matter, you see. Because this is the cultural aspect. So especially in cross-cultural pragmatic courses, we talk about the cultural expectation of the society, the pragmatic aspect as well, you see. So you need to know these things in addition to and also some kind of, it's hot in here. Let's say teacher uses this sentence, it's hot in here in a classroom, especially let's say North Indian setting, it's very hot. And looking at a student, and a student understand that, okay, either I need to close the door or close the window, or maybe in the classroom there is switch, especially AC should be turned on. So students, they understand. So the literal meaning of the word, it's hot in here, not only it's hot in here. So there are different kind of speech acts we perform. So Austin talks about, if you are aware of a little bit, especially research scholar and teachers, that Austin talks about 3 types of speech act. One is locutionary, another is illocutionary, another is parlocutionary. So it's hot in here, literal meaning. Somehow, other one, let's say, again, expressing kind of a request, please open the window or close the window, whatever for that matter. And parlocutionary, something that effect on the audience, that okay, audience or the student after that getting up and opening the window or switching on the AC or something, So this is where the kind of contextual aspects is really important. So regarding this communicative approach to language teaching, so the whole approach was taken into, and there are many people, especially so Finocchiaro and Bramfit. So what kind of things, what kind of assumptions we have to mind? So meaning is really paramount, and dialogues centered around communicative functions are not normally memorized. It's not memorized. Rather, we try to speak or internalize things. Contextualization, I was talking about language and context. Contextualization is the basic premise. And language learning is learning to communicate. We're trying to communicate here. And effective communication, we try to sort effective communication. Drilling, we do not do that much drilling. If you look at audiolingual method, mainly audiolingual method, you have lots of drilling practices and all. So comprehensible pronunciation is sought. It's not like native, you have to speak like native speakers. Native speakers, it's very difficult, Even if you bring back those Americans or Britishers for that matter, and you teach them Bangla, can they speak Bangla the way we speak? It's not possible for that matter, you see. So especially the people who take this communicative approach, the comprehensible pronunciation is sought, you see. So any device which helps the learner is accepted, varying according to the age, interest, and different, Attempts to communicate may be encouraged from the very beginning, if you talk about, but grammar translation method doesn't, Native language, even native language, use of native language is accepted. Audiolingual method will not accept for that matter, or direct method will not use of native language, you see. No. Somehow you have to speak, the English should be taught in English, not by other languages. And if you talk about grammar translation method, grammar translation method, English is taught through Bangla for that matter, you see. So, but somehow, so here, judicious use of native language is accepted where feasible. You are not kind of rigid for that matter. Translation.
Pardon.
Yeah. So just I'll finish within 5 minutes. Okay.
Okay, sir. 5 minutes. Okay, sir. Sure.
Okay. So this is where some of these things, the kind of assumptions we have taken from, different. So this is where the kind of approach we are talking about, the kind of assumptions what we do have, and now, so the kind of things what we are talking about is a very good communicative method, is very good effective method of language teaching, and so even if it is very effective, there are some also reservations. There are some reservations and limitations to this communicative method of language teaching as well. If we talk about, and even if you talk about, it says that it's replaced the grammar translation method. In reality, it did not replace the grammar translation method. That's one thing you see. Even if you look at the syllabus of different communicative English in different places, it did not. The reason is that, as simple as that, many teachers who are trained in grammar translation method, so this is what one of the reason a teacher expects. And another thing is that a teacher is expected to know all the communicative skills and the theoretical developments also. And we do not have that kind of background, that kind of teacher training to some extent, and the theoretical background and other things as well, So, and teacher has to do lots of things, you see, and it's too much basically for the teacher as well. So a cooperative environment is needed for this method to yield effective result, which does not seem to work for larger class. So depending on the need of particular student, let's say, and especially we know that our classroom is equipped with less infrastructure, and not only less infrastructure, more number of students. If there are more than 50 students and one teacher, so how many students need he's going to fulfill? This is where it's really difficult for that matter, you see, and there's too much load, especially on the teachers, you see. So we meet intermediate. So though this method may work well for the intermediate and advanced learners, but lack of control practices for beginners could lead to dropouts from the language classes. So beginners, for that matter, communicative method, if you're starting, and that's what we had also seen, that lots of dropouts for this, and so now what I was talking about, which method of language teaching is good to some extent, whether it's a communicative one, this one and that one, in my understanding that not even a single method you can say that this is the best method of language teaching. So if you are a good teacher, want to be a good teacher for that matter, you need to mix up methods, let's say, whether it's a grammar translation, audiolingual, communicative method, or other kind of things. So teacher has to design certain things depending on the need of the students to some extent, and what kind of things, let's say, what kind of, and also it depends on the learners also. The learners, different kind of social and psychological reasons, or whether he or she has aspirations or not, what kind of aspirations he has, So now one of the things, this is where one of the things we talk about communicative English, and we are communicating, let's say I'm from Bengal, communicating through English, the person who is in Kerala, and somehow we do not promote this promotion of our Indian languages, you see. And I think in my understanding, we need to promote our Indian languages, and definitely English is the language, but in order to sustain our Indian culture, we need to promote and respect other Indian languages and other Indian cultures as well, you see. So this is what recently, this is the day before yesterday's, if you look at Chief Minister Adityanath Yogi urged to introduce Marathi in UP schools. So this Maharashtra BJP leader Kripa Shankar Singh, requesting Chief Minister that, okay, please introduce Marathi in UP schools and all. So something like, though it's a proposal kind of things and all, you see. So what I'm saying is that to some extent, we need to develop this kind of attitude, and we should learn other languages of India for that matter, you see. And so this is what, so language for that matter in general, if you look at, I was talking about the communicative, the contextual uses. So language provides us the choice, let's say. So how you want to communicate. So let's say, and depending on the different kind of situation, So let's say something like you want 500 rupees, and you are in dire need of 500 rupees. So how to say that, So could you lend me 500 rupees, please? Or can you lend me 500 rupees? Or can I borrow 500 bucks from you? All that kind of thing. So language provides all that kind of option, choice 1, choice 2, choice 3, whichever the options, and so different kind of option. Or let's say, lend me 500 rupees, please. Simply, and or maybe just less direct kind of things you see. And so what is happening here is something like language is giving us the option, and there is a choice. So one is axis of combination. Roman Jakobson talks about the axis of combination and axis of selection. So whether to choose choice 1, select 1, 2, 3, or 4, it's totally up to you how you project yourself in the society for that matter. So in my understanding, that's what is really interesting is that how you want to project yourself in the society, what kind of human being you are, and especially if you want to communicate in English. So all these cultural aspects, cultural norms also you need to understand, and how language is used in a particular context, So that is also really important. And I will end my lecture with saying that wherever you are and whatever you do, language makes a difference. So thank you so much for listening to me, and thank you for your patience. These are the references, and thank you for your patience. Thank you, the college authority, to give me this, this opportunity to present my views on this subject. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Madhab Ray, for your invaluable presentation. We are really enthralled by your scholastic presentation on ELT and communicative English. Now, this is our interactive session. We can take a couple of questions from the audience. Marcy, can you tell me if there is any question in the chat box? Marcy, can you listen?
Yes, sir. I request all participants, if they have any questions for Dr. Ray, they can unmute themselves and go ahead, or they can post their questions in the chat box. Yes, Shiranju, go ahead.
Sir, so what is the national language in India?
There is no national language, sir. There is no national language in the constitution. Nothing is written. There is no national language. If somebody says that it's a national language, that person doesn't know the constitution, doesn't know about it. You see, कोई राष्ट्रभाषा नहीं है इंडिया में. और कोई अगर ऐसे बोलते हैं, so the person doesn't know basically.
Any other question?
Sir, another question is, sir, how can I talk English?
Sir, you are speaking English. Have the confidence, sir. And so that's what I was telling you. What kind of need, let's say. So you want to learn or speak English. What kind of reasons, let's say. Do you want to appear for a job interview? Or do you want to pass a particular test, let's say? Or do you want to get some kind of certificate? Or do you want to move abroad, let's say, for that matter? If you go to different places in India, mainly let's in Punjab, I visited different places in Punjab. So in Punjab, from Punjab, many people, they are going to all these, countries, Canada and other places for that matter. So they have a different kind of perspective because they are going there and they want to speak. So the spoken part is more important. For some people, it's not the spoken. For some people, it's the written part. So there are different factors. For me, let's say, since we are, let's say, academic scholar for that matter, we have to be equally effective. Either you talk about the oral or speaking, whichever. So people may have different kind of need for different kind of purposes for that matter. So first you need to find out what is your need, and accordingly you have to go ahead with your plan.
Sir, actually need means that I want to talk English properly for communication.
Yeah, so if the communication, what kind of communication? That is also important.
Sir, actually, who does not know Bengali?
Who doesn't know Bengali? Yes, okay.
Yeah. Sir, I have to approach in English So how can I approach? How can I talk English
Yeah. So
properly?
okay. So if you talk about this part, let's say, so as I was talking about the different kind of purposes, ESP, English for specific purposes. So let's say if you are a doctor in Bengal, or if you are a lawyer for that matter. So doctor has a different kind of registers. Register means different kind of words. They have some kind of phrases. So when the patient comes, they have to say, okay. Or when they prescribe medicines, they have to say these things as well, take this medicine and all that kind of thing before meal and after meal. If you want to serve as a waiter, whether it's McDonald's and other places for that matter, McDonald's or Pizza Hut or other places. So for that, you have a different kind of need, you see. So whom you want to speak? Which person, let's say. If you are working in McDonald's and waiter for that matter, they're simply saying this. So mostly what kind of things you speak? So the customers come, you will say, sir or madam, what do you like to have? Burger with cheese or without cheese, with Coke. So depending on the need of the people for that matter, need of the people. So now if you say that, okay, all of a sudden I want to speak English like the Britishers, that's not possible. So slowly and gradually you start with, and you have to have that motivation. That's what I've been saying, that you have to have this motivation. So there are two types of motivation. One is instrumental motivation, another is integrative motivation. Instrumental motivation is like either to get job or something like you want to speak. That's what I think you more have instrumental motivation. Some people, they may have integrative motivation. Integrative motivation is like, I want to speak English like the Americans. So many people who are, let's say, working in call center, there are many call centers. You see that call centers is operated in India, and they are fulfilling the need of the American customers or European customers. So they are being trained in that manner. If you have traveled in, especially in aeroplane and all, you will see that all these air hostess and all, they speak that kind of English so that everybody can understand. So especially in India also, that's what we talk about, Indian variety of English. Indian variety of English is totally different, but at the same time, keep in mind, we should speak English with that kind of neutralized accent. Bengali people, let's say, have different kind of intonation for that matter, different kind of pronunciation. Dravidians I'm talking about, especially Dravidian language groups, whether it's Tamil, Telugu, Tibeto-Burman group have different kind of intonation, tone and intonation. So if you are an Indian, try to speak English with that neutralized accent or neutralized that kind of tone and intonation. So that everybody can understand. This should be our motive, you see. So that's what you first try to find out what is your need or what is your motive for learning English. Okay. If there is any more question, I'd be happy.
I think
Okay.
we should move forward for the next session because our time limit is there. Thank you, Sudhanshu Rai, for your valuable question. We have learned lots of information, lots of data about ELT and communicative English. On behalf of Umeschandra College, the students, teachers, and organizers, and non-teaching staff, I convey our gratitude and love and very, very big thank you, sir, Dr. Madhab Ray. And it is my humble request, if your time permits, please stay with us till the end of this webinar, and your gracious presence will certainly enrich this academic event. So this is our request. If you can stay with us till the end of this webinar.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So now I invite our next resource person, Dr. SatyawanPolist, to deliver his speech on the topic ELT in digital era. Satyawan sir, are you here?
Thank you, Burman sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me.
Dr. SatyawanPolist is an assistant professor of English at Government College for Women, Ambala City, Haryana. He teaches English at undergraduate as well as postgraduate students. His area of interest is ELT and linguistics. He has done his PhD in English. He has also done his PGDTE, that is postgraduate diploma in teaching English from Central Institute of English and Foreign Language, presently called EFLU, English and Foreign Language University, Hyderabad. Dr. Polist has written a number of research papers on CLT, English as a global language, learners' autonomy, etc. I request Dr. SatyawanPolist to begin his presentation, please, sir.
Good morning to all. Thank you for inviting me for this lecture. I thank you all the IQAC team and Chief Patron, Principal Sir, and my beloved students who are present in the seminar. Dr. Madhab Ray has spoken on the topic extensively, and he has gave a very detailed presentation on the teaching methods, ELT, and the things which our students should know. So I won't go much on theoretical aspects of this because it has already been covered, and my topic for the day is ELT in digital era. So I'll begin first. What is a real scenario in India and especially in our classrooms? What our students need and what is their day-to-day need of the English language? So first of all, many studies have shown it that there is a huge gap between what is the demand of the corporate world, the companies, and what the skills our students have, the job seekers. Their employability skills are not up to the mark. Despite a lot of teaching, learning, many years experience, they are not able to communicate properly. And if we talk about English for specific purposes, as Ray sir has told us, that is a very different thing. But even normal English is beyond their reach. So what we are doing in the classroom and what our students are learning, what are their problems? Every student knows it that English is very important in the present world. And they keep on asking us in the classroom, as somebody asked that I want to improve my English, I want to speak a fluent English, how to do it? How can I do it? So this is the need of the hour. This is every student's need it, because we have students from rural background. There are students who have not fortunate enough to have schooling at convent schools or English medium schools. They are from rural or suburban backgrounds, and they need the language. It is the necessity of the time. You go and ask any student in the classroom. I'm a teacher in government college. I had taught at school level as well. And the first and foremost demand of the learners is that we want to learn spoken English and how to do it. And for that, I give them my example. I tell them, they ask, the question is mostly how much time I had to devote or how much time I'll take to learn the language so I can get a good job. I tell them I'm still learning, and it takes a lot of time to acquire a language. There are levels. We have crossed some levels and we are still in the process of learning it, and every day we learn. And I give my example then. I started learning English in class 6th. I was in government school. And for 6 months, I was not able to learn alphabets. And after schooling, fortunately, I joined Air Force and I got some environment there. And I took admission in graduation from IGNO, and I opted for English major. At the time, we didn't have that much facilities as we have today. We used to refer dictionary now and then, even to study a page. We used to refer at least 10 to 15 times. But nowadays we have technology with us. Our students have smartphones with them, and they need not to go for that. They just type the word and they can find the meaning. And not only meaning of the word, the major problem of our students is the pronunciation and correct accent of that word. That time it was not possible for us, but now it is available. They just type the word, see the meaning, and they can listen the correct accent. RP, received British pronunciation, or BBC English, or American, whatever they want. They can get it easily. We did a lot of hard work in learning, acquiring the correct pronunciation, and still there are problems. Because regional impact is always there. It is called empty influence, mother tongue influence in our target language. For example, I am from Haryana. So in Haryana, it is a well-known example. Most of the teachers keep on telling in the classroom that the people in Haryana and Punjab, if they have to pronounce the word SCHOOL, school, they will say school. And if the same word is spoken by a person from Uttar Pradesh, what they will say? They will say school. And in similar way, every state has got their own empty influence on English. And it will remain. But with some practice, with elimination, as Dr. Madhab Ray has said, that we can speak a language which is intelligible to other people, the people of other states, that is intranational or national intelligibility that we are acquiring. And we need not to be worried much about the accent of native speakers, as we call in English, in ELT, that is RP, received British pronunciation. We have to reach to the level of intelligibility. So the people should not misunderstood us in that. For this area, your Bengal, Odisha, and Bihar, there is one accent, the one word, the sound of wa. That is, this sound is pronounced in a very different way. Generally, they call it, if they have to speak the word Victor, VICTOR, wa, they pronounce it Victor. It seems very natural to them, very normal to them. But it is a very heavy, empty influence on their English. So these are some things in accent in that spoken English we need to eliminate, we need to learn it. Okay, Now every student understands the importance of English. They know how important English is for them, because English is an international language. It is a language of business. It is a language of status. It's a language of administration. It's a language of academics. Everywhere it is used, and it is evident that people are very crazy to learn English. The mushrooming of the English speaking coaching centers all over. You go anywhere, small towns or metropolitans, everywhere you find that the people go for this course. And there is a demand from corporate world that you should have a good communicative skills. So as for ELT is concerned, we have 4 macro skills. We all teachers know it. That is called LSRW: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So these 4 skills are the objective of whole English language teaching in the classroom. And these skills are such that if you don't practice any of these skills, we won't be able to acquire it. We have to understand that English is a skill-based subject. It is different from history, political science, or other subjects which are the content-based subject. Content means knowledge. If in history we go for a topic, we just read it, we understand it, and we learn it, it's okay. We know it. But when it comes the English, then definitely it is not a subject of knowledge only. It is a practical subject. It has to be used. We have to acquire the skills in language. So we have 4 skills: LSRW: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And you can just see the order how it is written. First is listening, because listening is very easy, and a child acquire listening first, because in a home environment he or she keeps on listening to the family members, and through that he or she understands the language. And then comes speaking. Listening and speaking is used by literate or illiterate anyone. It is very easy, very natural. It is innate to human mind. Even a lunatic person speaks rightly. Maybe his or her meaning of the sentence may be very absurd, but the sentence formation is always correct. So listening and speaking is natural, but reading and writing, it is learned in a formal setup in classroom. And that's why it is written later. And writing is very complex, because in writing, a lot of faculty of mind is used. Writing is not only graphemes or making words on paper, writing letters. Writing is composition, generating ideas, arranging them in sentences, paragraph, and using different techniques of writing like cohesion, coherent, and organic unity in this. So that's why writing is every day, this skill is diminishing. And one more factor in this, that nowadays we are using more and more technology. So handwriting is especially becoming problematic, and spelling mistakes are also more, because we have assistance of technology, digital technology, and we get all the spellings and all. So that's why there is no much problem in that. So after talking about the importance of English language for getting good job, moving abroad, or getting status in the society, and understanding that what are the skills and how important they are, I would like to move what is our classrooms scenario nowadays. My topic is ELT in digital era. So how the technology we use in our classroom. Most of us have language labs. We have smart classrooms, and we use it. But one thing is there in this, that for effective use of these things, the professional development of teachers has to be there. The teacher should know this, how to use it, because in day-to-day affair, we witness and encounter a lot of problems. For example, if I take the example of my college, we have 3 smart classrooms there, and we don't have any assistant to operate that for teacher. All the things we have to do ourselves. We just go in the class. Sometimes we have to arrange everything, and there are also problems of power supply, internet connectivity, and we feel that it is a waste of time, and sometimes we are not prepared what to show in that. So first we have to be very conversant with the technology. Second, we have all the things intact so we can use it, because there is challenge in using technology in the classroom. But if we use it properly, it is very effective, very helpful. Because sometimes we complain that we are very tired and we have to shout in the classroom, we have to speak louder, and students are not much interested in the class. Why? Because nowadays nobody want to listen, and they have better options than us. Nowadays, teacher is not only the sole source of knowledge. On YouTube, they have better resource persons, good videos, so they can watch that. If they don't want, they lose interest in the teacher, they won't listen. So we have to engage them. Now we have to shift from teacher-fronted classroom to the learner-centered classroom. Now this is the whole business of ELT and CLT. In communicative language teaching, we have to engage the learners in collaborative learning, in participative learning, task performing, and solving the problems. The teacher has to act as a facilitator, as a counselor, as a guide, and not only the sole source of information. So this can be done with the help of technology in the classroom. We can show them some video and we can put a kind of task or challenge to the learners. For example, if we want to teach email writing, because I came to learn that the course for the BCom students is communicative English or the functional English. They need it for business purposes. So they have to write email, they have to write report, they have to write the presentation, interview skills, and all these type of things are there, which is used outside the classroom in real world. So in that case, we should give them the practical work. For example, if you want to teach them email writing, then just devise a task. For example, you want to say that, okay, invite your friend on the marriage of your sister or brother. And then students will write email to other students, their friend. And doing this, they will learn the practical way of, real way of writing email. Sometimes they keep writing. It is not that they don't write now, but whatever is the proper way of writing the email, we should teach them and then we should give them practice. For report writing, we teach them in the classroom, then give them.
Sir, 5 minutes more, sir, please.
Okay, sir. So using technology in the classroom is challenging as well as very effective. We can make our classroom more effective, and students have a lot of language software. They can use that for developing their listening skills, their reading skills, their comprehension passages. Just they should use these technologies in that. And as for the challenges and the drawbacks of technology is concerned, sometimes using technology is also very dangerous. We have a danger of undesired informations. So we have to be very careful while using it. Sometimes it is very time consuming and we cannot find the right software for our use, and we keep on searching the things. So here duty of the teacher is to help the students to find out the right thing, the right software, language software, so they can use it. It can save their time, and it is our duty. And this is actually our duty nowadays. We have to search the appropriate and effective materials, very interesting materials for the students. So use of technology is useful to develop the 4 language skills of the students. And this is the main target which we have to keep in mind. And we should work properly in that way to make the classes more effective and interesting. Thank you. Any question from your side?
Marcy,
Yes, sir.
is there any question in the chat box?
Yes, sir, I have questions.
Kaushik Chandra has written a question. Marcy, can you read out the question from Kaushik Chandra, please, Marcy?
Yes, sir. Kaushik has written, only mere constant practice is enough to acquire fluency in spoken English.
Constant practice is required. It is necessary. And you have to use whatever you practice in the real life situations. Then only you will acquire the confidence of using it.
Sir, I have questions.
Ji.
Sir, when I write something in English, I thought that it would be wrong or not in proper sentence. So
Okay.
I could not write official letter.
Yeah, that is actually the main problem.
Yes,
That
sir.
is it is you can say that using the language in real life, you can do one thing. Initially, you don't write to the person whom you it is required in a formal setup. You write to your friend or somebody else where you don't have any fear of that kind, and write a very small pieces. Stepwise, you should move to it, and then you get some appreciation from your friends and your teachers and all. You don't write even to teachers because we generally students are very hesitant to go to teachers for that. So you use a small group of your friends or your family members, and just keep on writing the things.
Sir, or there is any English language app to write English properly or speak English fluently?
Yes, there are many, but you just go for the, I'll tell you, IELTS, you know, IELTS, it is known English, International English Language Testing System, it is called. You go to the
What?
IELTS, the test which is required to go abroad in Britain, Canada, like that. So you go to the site of British Council, and go to the corner of IELTS. Okay.
Yes, sir.
IELTS. Okay. This. So you will find a lot of practice test for listening, for reading, for writing, everything. And nowadays, you just search for reading comprehension practice test. You'll find a lot of that. Writing test, you'll find a lot. Not only one.
Excuse me, sir, I have a question.
So we should move forward. Actually, we have short of time. Okay, Devan, we can take your question. Devan, carry on, please.
Sir, firstly, a very good morning.
Only one person. Devan, please.
Sir, firstly, a very good morning to our honorable principal, sir, all our professors, you, sir, and all my fellow college mates who all are present here. Sir, we all know how much English, or rather the communicative English to be more specific, plays a vital role in our life in today's world. But in this flow of English, don't you think that we are forgetting our mother tongue? Because especially we, the students of convent, where we are in school, where we only spoke in English, even we were not allowed to talk in our vernaculars in front of our teachers with our friends as well. So what should be the solution according to you, so that kids of today's world will learn English at the same time giving importance to the vernaculars as well?
Then for this topic, I'm just talking about to solve your problem of getting a good job or moving abroad like that. You need English, professional English, right? So nobody stops you to speak your mother tongue at your home or in market or anywhere you go. There's no problem. I speak 3 languages. In college, I speak English with my students and Hindi with my colleague and all, and my Haryanvi with my wife and all. I use 3 languages.
So,
And
but the thing is, kids of today's world, they know English spellings. They know where the K is silent, where the T is silent, which spelling.
Yeah,
But they don't know the spellings of the vernacular.
Hello. নেতাজির উপর কলেজ প্রিন্সিপাল আমাকে ফোন করেছিলেন. They all are, the teachers are trying to join this program, but you all are not allowing. Netaji Nagar College. So if you see this matter, please. Hello.
Okay, one question. Dr. Sarita Singh has asked why it has become a status symbol.
I urge all participants to ask their question one by one. Please let Dr. Polist answer.
Beban Datta, have you got your answer?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for your valuable words. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Excuse me, just 1 minute, sir. This is my last question.
Okay.
Myself,
Nasi,
Kaushik Chandra.
Nasi, can you hear me?
Ji, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've noted the problem, sir.
Netaji Nagor College, they all are trying to join the program, but they're not getting the chance. I don't know why. If you can
Okay,
see
sir.
this
I'm looking
matter.
into the problem.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm attending to it.
Mala madam, can you hear me?
Hello. Myself, Kaushik Chandra from Dinhada. Okay. My question is that, what's your opinion regarding actually perverted English? Nowadays, many students and many teachers and others, they are fluent in English, but they brush aside grammar. There are so many problems regarding grammatical mistakes, but they actually ignore them.
Actually,
So how can we solve it? They are fluent in English, but actually they perverted English.
Actually, poverty it is because of the SMS and all this type of, they keep on typing in that. They use that abbreviation and different type of abbreviation made by their own. So technology has this drawback, and this is the impact of this they are using. But what is the solution? It is told that language is a communication. It is only for communication. If people understand, I think it is okay. People will accept it after some time.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So I think we should move forward for the next session. But before that, I must thank Dr. SatyawanPolist for your fascinating presentation and excellent ideas of ELT in digital era. Plenty of knowledge and skillful locution have captivated the audience, and there is a nice interaction session. Before going to the next session, I request Mala Madam, please allow all those who are trying to enter into the session from Netaji Nagar College. Our principal has just informed. Mala Madam, please look into the matter. So our next speaker is Dr. Muhammad SaquibAbrar, an assistant professor of English at Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. Dr. Abrar has completed his PhD on the plays of Eugene Ionesco from Aligarh Muslim University. His areas of interest are continental drama, African American drama, and modern Indian drama. He has actively participated and presented papers in different national and international academic deliberations. He has published many research papers in different reputed journals and edited a number of books. He teaches undergraduate and postgraduate students. Dr. Abrar also works as a research guide for research scholars pursuing PhD degree. Over to you, Dr. Abrar, sir, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vasant Barmanji, for introducing me to the audience, to the participants. It's both my pleasure and privilege to be part of this one-day workshop on ELT and English language teaching, that is, and communicative English. I'm thankful to Dr. Muhammad Tafazul Haq, Chief Patron of the webinar, and Principal Umeschandra College, Kolkata, Professor Mercy Hambrom, Convener of the webinar, Professor Ishan Karmakar, Treasurer, Professor Prakriti Ranjan Das, Mentor, and last but not the least, definitely, Vasant Barmanji, and other participants for inviting me to speak on the topic soft skills and communicative English. See, before this lecture, although I was not throughout this program, that is in the previous lecture, but as I joined in the last moment, what I noticed that the conversation, the talk was going on regarding spoken English and all those aspects. Therefore, I would like to begin my talk, although the topic assigned to me is soft skills. and communicative English. But where the last speaker has stopped, where the last speaker has, I think, finished his talk, I'm going to begin from there onwards. See, all of a sudden, I'm reminded of one of the famous lines spoken by, or statements rather I can say, spoken by William Butler Yeats. I'm quite sure that all those who are from English background, English literature background, maybe others as well, they must have heard this name, W.B. Yeats, one of the famous 20th century poet, one of the famous 20th century writer. He has said somewhere, his statement is, think like a wise man, think like a wise man, but communicate in the language of the people. In this statement that Yeats is making, please, Mr. Ankit, it would be better if you will keep your camera off. Mr. Beckett is saying, sorry, Yeats is saying, think like a wise man, but communicate in the language of the people. This language of the people is clarifying the fact that effective communication is one of the chief factors of success in any field. It cannot be denied. With this line or with this statement, that is, think like a wise man, but communicate in the language of the people, it can be averred, it can be said that effective communication, proper communication, conducive communication is one of the chief factors of success in each and every field. Effective communication and soft skills not only improve our relationship with others, but also these two try to improve our efficiency towards our work. That is a soft skill, definitely. There should not be any confusion that effective communication is a part of soft skill, is one part, one factor, one we can say category of soft skills, but these two combined together can be or must be kept in mind that they are required to improve our relationship, whatsoever relationship it is, be it academic relationship, be it formal relationship, be it informal relationship, be it our family life, whatsoever, wheresoever we are. But especially definitely right now, we are talking of, or our focus is towards our professional, we can say, setup. Soft skills are also being named or also being called as social skills, sometimes as non-technical skills, sometimes as common skills. These three and many more are the synonyms that can be used for soft skills, or we can replace the word soft skills with these words, that is social skills, non-technical skills, and common sense or common skills. See, further we may go ahead or we may move ahead, we can further clarify or we can say add that soft skills are those personal values. Soft skills are those interpersonal skills that determine, that decides a person's ability to work well with others. If we are going to have these attributes, certain basic soft skills, then quite naturally we will feel comfortable, we will feel efficient, we will feel better, comfortable in working with others. And definitely in our workplace, we find that people belonging to different sects, different community, different culture, different, we can say, geographical setup, all these are combined together and intermingling or mingling with all of them in a comfortable way, just like a family, is the first prime factor of a successful professional life. That's why I am saying that soft skills are interpersonal skills that decide or that determine a person's ability to work well with others. They are needed, they are required to deal with external world and to work in a collaborative way, to work in a collaborative manner with one's colleagues. I'm quite sure of this fact that all of you know some basic soft skills that we need to have, that we need to develop, that we must have. Nonetheless, despite this, once again, I'm simply going to reiterate, I'm simply going to repeat some skills which if you excel or upon which if you are going to pay proper attention, rather I can say, certain attention, rather I can say, I'm quite sure that you are going to set your life. By setting your life, definitely I mean to say, you are going to excel in your professional life. Your life is going to be set. If you will pay proper attention, if you will pay basic attention, if you are there to achieve those basic skills, and if you work upon them, if you improve these, I'm quite sure that after that your life is going to be set. Some common soft skills. Some common soft skills that are often required, that are often needed, are critical thinking, communication skills. First and foremost, we are going to talk or we'll be talking about communication skills, critical thinking. The third important point that is there in my mind is charisma. What is this charisma? I'll be talking in detail just in a while. But these are, that is we can say communicative skills, critical thinking, charisma, time management, change management, leadership quality, teamwork, work ethics, and so on. These are certain basic soft skills that I'm quite sure, or I think rather, that everyone is supposed to have, or everyone must own them if they want to be the master of their career, if they want to be the master of their profession, in whatsoever field we are, whether it's an academic, whether it's corporate life, whatsoever field we are engaged in. If we are going to have these basic attributes, I'm quite sure of this fact that our life is set and we are going to be the master of profession. That is no matter in which field you are, where you are working, but if you are master of these basic skills, then you will be the master of your profession, then you will be the master of your career. Dear participants, again I must point out here that we all acquire a lot of soft skills through college, through work, through online courses, and many more. But it must be borne in mind, but it must be kept in mind that the things that help you to advance in your profession, the things that will help you to advance in your profession, in your career, is undisputedly soft skills. That is, without soft skills, these hard skills that you have achieved, that you have acquired, they are lame. They are lame, they are dependent on each other, they are complementary to each other, and the thin line that appears between them, it is more apparent than real. That is, the surface level differences are there. In fact, they are complementary to each other. Going ahead, I must point you people out. I must, we can say, go ahead and make this point clear that what you know as hard skills, that is taken for granted. Everyone knows that you have achieved this degree, that degree. But how to utilize those degrees? But if you do not have the basic soft skills of communication, basic soft skills of listening, team management, then you will not be able to. Then you won't be able to ever advance in your career. You won't be able to lead teams. You won't be able to work with the people. And not only this, sometimes you are going to be leader, manager of your team, your, we can say, profession. You will find that you won't be able to make people work. Apart from this, if you are not having these basic soft skills, these became, as I said, as I pointed out, that you won't be able to advance, you won't be able to lead teams, you won't be able to work with the people, you won't be able to make people work for the organization. But most of all, you will find that, above all, you will find that you will feel alienated. You will never feel comfortable. You will never feel as a part of that team. And since you are not going to feel part of that team, then it is quite natural that you will feel that why I am here? What is my purpose? Again, your life is going to be burdened. Your life is, or your profession will appear as a burden to you. You are not going to enjoy your profession. Therefore, for growing, for achieving success in our professional life, in whatsoever profession we are engaged in, it is mandatory, it is necessary, it is quite necessary, rather I may say, that we must have certain basic soft skills. And in this way, if you are not going to have these basic soft skills, what you will find that all your hard skills are useless. All your hard skills are of no use. That's why I may admit here, or I may say here, that soft skills always complement hard skills. Soft skills are something that is very hard to observe, something very hard to measure. It cannot be acquired. Soft skills are something that cannot be acquired by reading merely books. It is not that, see, simply listening to the lectures, simply going through books, you are going to have these. It's not like that. You must keep in mind that for advancing, for achieving, for having soft skills, it is necessary that from our day-to-day life, we must try to experience, we must try to acquire, and as and when we find that this part is lacking in me, we must try to improve upon that. We must try to work upon that. That is, we can say that soft skills are something that is a continuous learning process. As far as the language is concerned, again, if one can claim that he is a master of language, he knows each and everything that is there, it's not like that. We cannot have. Language is something that is not, we can say, stagnant. It is dynamic. And therefore, something that is dynamic, it cannot be claimed that I have each and everything that is there in that language. We can every day learn, we can every day improve upon our working knowledge of language. Similar cases with soft skills also, we can achieve this, we can experience this, we can observe around ourselves, and then we must try to achieve, we must try to work upon them, we must try to improve upon them. Therefore, in a nutshell, in brief, I must include that to define soft skills, if someone asks us that what is soft skills, if we are going to keep 2 or 3 words in our mind, I am quite sure that we can explain this in a proper way. That is 3 terms are there, and those 2, 3 key terms may be placed under the umbrella term that is called soft skills. It means the soft skills are PS, soft skills are SS, soft skills are PCT. 3 abbreviations I have used. PS, that is people skills. I am a teacher. You all, some of you are teacher, academician, lecturer, university teacher. No? Definitely, we are engaged in certain profession. But above all, we are a human being. And there are certain obligations, there are certain responsibilities on us besides our professional life. We are a social human being. Therefore, these soft skills that are there, it is not that it simply captures or it is simply related to professional life. No doubt, repeatedly I am saying that it's first and foremost, it is in one way or the other, basically trying to develop certain skills that are required to achieve academic excellence, or instead of academic excellence, it would be more appropriate to say professional skills. But we must keep in mind that, as I said, man is a social human being. He cannot escape, he cannot evade some of his responsibilities towards his family, towards society. Therefore, soft skills is we can say umbrella term, and it incorporates or it tries to cover PS, that is people's skill. It is SS, social skills, and it is PCT, that is personal career attribute. If we are going to combine these 3 together, if we are going to have basics of them, I am quite sure that we all are going to get a success in both our life, professional as well as a social life. As I was saying, some basic, we can say, soft skills that we need to have. Among them, the previous talk ended on communication skills. And that's why I am going to begin on communication skills. Certain audiences, participants were asking how to improve communication and all those. See, my dear, it is not something that is a one-way process or one-day process, overnight process. Communication is something, no doubt, certain people are born orator, they are having the ability to speak without any fear, without any issue. But some of us are lacking in that ability. What to do? Again, I must tell you all that if you are speaking in an empty room, if you are speaking where no one is there, I'm sure you would not feel nervous at all. No one among us feel nervous. It is the audience that makes the speaker's tense. It is audience that makes the speaker's tense. It is natural and it must be accepted. This is what we call in a technical term glossophobia. Glossophobia. Glossophobia simply means the fear of speaking in public. Some of us are definitely academicians here right now in this meeting. We go there in the classes, the classroom is there, certain set of students are there, 50, 40, 30. In the beginning, we feel hesitant. No, when we started our career, then speaking before those 50, 60 students is not a big deal for us. We can speak for hours and hours, no, in that closed room. Earlier I was pointing out, when there is no audience, definitely there will be no nervousness. But even as we all are academicians, we find that the students are there in our classes, we are addressing them, we are talking with them, we are discussing certain issues with them. We don't feel afraid at all. We are comfortable. But the moment we come to know that I'm going to address certain audience who are completely unfamiliar to me, not known at all to me, it is natural that we are going to have a sense of nervousness, a sense of anxiety, a sense of, we can say something, fear that what is going to happen with me. As in this meeting, what I find that except the Sant Barmanji, I have never seen anybody, never met anybody. We have had previous interaction, but the rest, all of you are new for me. Never met, either online, offline, or WhatsApp, whatever mode it is. Therefore, it is the fear of audience where we are or we face some sorts of problem, or most of us face problem. And this is a soft skill that we need to master on. The question arises here. My dear colleagues and participants, that why the speaker is having fear of audience, why they are afraid of audience. Definitely there are certain factors that govern their mind and they are afraid of. For example, the moment I think that these audiences whom I am addressing, they are more intelligent than I am. They know more than this subject than I am. It is quite natural that I am not going to deliver, I am not going to speak on any topic. The second important sense of fear that comes to the speaker, whether they are going to understand me, whether they will get me, what I am trying to say. Again, this question is always there at the backdrop of our mind. It haunts us. Sometimes, without speaking, even before speaking, we are thinking or we consider that maybe my audience are going to feel bored. And since they will feel bored, they will be disinterested. They are not going to be interested in my talk. They will simply think that he is talking nonsense. Apart from this, you may also find that a speaker may take this point that whatever I am going to speak, whatever I am going to say, they are already familiar with that. They are already aware with that. The moment I am going to think of this, I will be a failure as a speaker. just, we can say, testimony, not example, I may use the term. Rather, I can say that how we need to manage the things during this, or how we have managed the things during this COVID-19 is the testimony to this particular fact. Because online classes, everything was going on online. Most of the teachers were not familiar at all, not habitual. But in between, we have managed so that our students should not be at academic loss at any rate. Definitely, there is difference between online classes and offline classes, but something is always better than nothing. Therefore, we must develop this ability how to manage the changes that are taking place around us. Time management is the next point on which I'll speak. Time management is something. See, always you will notice that people are complaining. I don't get time. I have not time. No, I could not complete it because I don't manage the time. I could not get the time. See, for each and every one, there are only 24 hours. 7, that is 24 into 7. And in this 24 into 7, someone achieves height of success, someone is utterly a failure in his life. Many leaders, many achievers, scientists are born. For all of them, this is 24 hours. But some of us are habitual of procrastinating. Procrastinating, that is delaying the things. Okay, later on I'll do it. Later on I'll do it. Remember, if you are unable to control your time, you won't be able to control anything. If you don't have your time, then you will never get an opportunity to do anything, nor the intent to do it, nor even the motivation for it. Accordingly, writing, listening are other factors that are required and that we must hold. About writing section, I wanted to speak, but time is not allowing, therefore I'm skipping that point. But I must point you all out that you must work on writing also. Writing is a task that will help you to improve on your skill communication, on your soft skills. Sometimes you'll find that you have written something and there are so many red pen marks that it seems very embarrassing. Organize your thoughts properly. Teamwork. In the beginning also I had spoken that it is collaborative work, collaborative effort to achieve a common goal or to complete a task in the most effective and efficient way. Teamwork is very crucial and you must develop this. And besides this, work ethics, that is also an important soft skill. The ability to maintain proper moral values within the workplace. It is attitude that shapes the way an individual performs his job. I have been assigned to teach the classroom. Now, I may go there, I may not go there sometimes. I may go there for 10 minutes late. I may leave the class 10 minutes earlier. Instead of 50 minutes, I am spending 30 minutes there. Who is noticing this? Your conscience is noticing this. You must mind your ethical values, moral values. Be honest towards your duties. Whatsoever duties you have been assigned, you must be punctual. You must obey the company's orders. You must develop effective communication skills. You must take the responsibility. You must take the accountability. You must have trust and mutual respect for your colleagues at work and leadership. All these, if you are going to combine together, then quite automatically you will develop the ability of leadership quality. To conclude, in short, in one sentence, I must say here that alongside hard skills, you need soft skills too for success in your career, for success in your profession. Thank you so much for patience hearing.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammad SaquibAbrar, sir, for your presentation. It was really a marvelous presentation indeed. We can take one or two brief questions. Yes,
sir, I have a question, sir. how can I enrich our vocabulary words in daily life?
I got the point. Your question is simply how to enrich our vocabulary. See, during my talk, during my conversation, I have already spoken that language learning is a dynamic process. It is not something in one night you can do it. You all know that sometimes, right now I was speaking, it was easy for you to understand whatever I have spoken. But certain words that I may have used, it won't be possible for you to use them in your conversation, in your writing. Something you are reading, you may understand what writer is trying to say. But when you are trying to use those very vocabularies in your writings, it won't be possible for you. In this way, vocabulary is divided into active vocabulary and passive vocabularies. Passive vocabularies are those vocabularies which we can understand in the given context, but we cannot use them on our own. On the other hand, active vocabularies are those vocabularies which you can use as and when it is required. They are at your disposal. No, as and when it is required, either it's communicative English or written English. Everywhere you can use them. Therefore, my first and foremost suggestion to you would be that always try to change your passive vocabulary into active vocabulary. Second important point, that basic point for learning language is vocabulary. It is the heart of any language. And English, second language, professional language, as the conversation or discussion was going on. Therefore, no one can claim, I was saying this point also, that I know each and every word. For this, what you can do, no matter what date it is, whether it's a rainy season, whether it's a winter season, whether it's summer season, what season it is, determine, decide that I have to learn every day 2 to 3 words. 2 to 3 words, not I'm saying 5, 10, because you are having other assignments also. If you have decided that no matter what engagement I am having, I am going to learn 2 new words every day, by the end of year you will find that you have owned a large number of words. And those very words are going to be used in your communication, be it written and be it oral, and that are sufficient for this purpose. I think I have answered your question properly. There are many other ways, but these are basic ways that we can adopt.
Yes, sir. Sometimes when someone talk in English fluently, then I try to understand, but I can't. Sir, how can I enrich it?
See, again, it is simply because of, I was about to talk on that topic also, but due to limitation of time, I could not. It is not that the fault lies with you. It may be that fault is lying with the speaker. It may be fault is lying with you, because a speaker is not in a position to clarify the things properly. Therefore, he is not up to the mark as your level is. That's why I was saying that know your audience. Therefore, the fault may be with the speaker, first point. Second point is that the fault may be with yourself, because your vocabulary, your level is too low to understand him. And since he is addressing the group, definitely he will not take into consideration each and every individual. He is going to take into consideration to the masses. Apart from this, you may also find that you are problem with listening. Active listening is required. Human mind is always being governed by different sorts of emotions, different sorts of feelings. Your family issue is there, your friend issue is there, social issues are there. Maybe I am speaking as I am in active role, therefore I know what I have to speak, what next. But since you are listening to me, you are in passive role, your mind is being diverted. You are thinking something else. Therefore, you are not in a position to understand me properly or any speaker properly. Try to focus. Try to be focused. Try to be an active listener. Got the point?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. SaquibAbrar, sir, for your brilliant interaction with the participants. Now we move to our next session. Professor SameenaTabussum. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Our next speaker is Professor SameenaTabussum. Professor SameenaTabussum, an active learner and a dynamic teacher, holds an MPhil and an MA in English. She is the winner of 11 gold medals in her BA and MA exams from Osmania University. She has qualified B.Ed, CELTA, NET and SET exams. She has been a certified IELTS speaking examiner in Saudi Arabia. She has 17 years of experience in teaching different courses of English language and literature. She has worked as a lecturer in English at Dar al-Hikmah University in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia for 6 years. She joined the Department of English at Maulana Azad National Urdu University, a central university in Hyderabad, as an assistant professor in 2019. As a student, she had won a plethora of awards and certificates. As a teacher, she has designed several courses in English. She also prepares and edits the state study materials for different English courses. Professor SameenaTabussum has presented papers and served as the chairperson in several national and international conferences. She has delivered many workshops and extension lectures as an invited resource person. She has completed many certified professional development courses, and her core research area is English language teaching. With a passion for effective communicative skills, Professor Tabussum enjoys public speaking and academic writing. A staunch believer in student-centered pedagogy, educational technology, lifelong learning, and teamwork, Professor Tabussum is popular with students and colleagues as a diligent and dedicated academician. Now I would like to request Dr. Professor SameenaTabussum to deliver her dynamic presentation. Sameena ma'am, over to you, please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for such a generous and warm introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. How are you all?
Fine, ma'am, fine.
Thank you so much. Now, I shall be sharing my screen. Thank you so much for your response. I shall be sharing my screen, and let me know when you're able to see it. Meanwhile, may I ask you all to do one thing? Could you all please write your programs in the chat box? Let me know if you're a student or a teacher, undergraduate or postgraduate, MBA, MCOM, what are your courses? Just write your positions in the chat box, please, so that I can know my audience. Is my PPT visible?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now let me have a quick look at the chat box. Yes, okay. So there's an interesting variety there, students and teachers, right? So inshallah, we shall be having fun only if you all participate actively. So thank you all for your responses. I shall be looking at it very often. Now, well, to introduce myself, I'm SameenaTabussum, an assistant professor in the Department of English at Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Hyderabad. The topic of my talk today is effective presentation skills at interviews. Now, at the outset, my first request to you all is to participate actively by giving oral and written responses using the chat box and the given links, which I will be providing you. And please feel free to stop me anytime you like and ask questions. Well, my first task to you all is, for this, you need to click a link that I will be sharing in the chat box. Okay, I shall be quickly sharing this link in the chat box, and I want you all to write your answers there. Okay. Please click this link and respond to the given question. I want you to brainstorm your ideas about interview. When you hear the word interview, what words come to your mind? Just brainstorm your ideas. on interview. Please let me know if you need any clarification. Click the link. Just write whatever word comes to your mind when you hear the word interview. That's interesting. Yes, I hope you all can see the screen and can see your colleagues' responses as well. Can we have more words, please? So the word test seems to dominate there. It's a personality test, it's face-to-face communication, little bit of fear, goals, knowledge, nervousness, opportunity, and whatnot. Thank you all for sharing your ideas. And inshallah, in today's presentation, I shall try to touch upon all these words that you have mentioned here. Thank you all. Now let's move on. If you can see the PPT, so here we go. Now here's the outline of my presentation. I shall begin with a brief introduction to the concept interview, then talk about pre-interview, during the interview, and post-interview, and then we shall together arrive at certain conclusions. Now, in the chat box, please define the term interview. What do you understand by the term interview? Please write it in the chat box. Define interview. Thank you all for your responses on the Mentimeter. I've got a good cloud of words that's very interesting with a variety of words there. I hope you all can see the screen. So thank you for your contribution. Now let's stop that and now write in the chat box the definition of interview. Yes, I'm reading your responses and that's quite interesting and all of you are correct. Can we have more? No, Diva and Datta, it's not filled with fear, anxiety, tension and nervousness. That's so very negative. No, it's not that. It shouldn't be that. Yes, yes, all of you are right, except perhaps Divine Datta, who seems to give a very pessimistic answer. Yes. Yes, you're all right. I'm not reading out every answer because it would take time, but I'm silently reading everyone's response. So the focus is on meeting, interaction, communication, and face-to-face. These are the common terms in your definitions. So thank you all for your participation. Now let's move on. Please type your answer in the chat box. The person who asks the questions in an interview is called, let's see who will be the fastest. Yes, so we have Sonu Mishra answering, right. Yes, I want your spelling also to be correct, Om. Yes, thank you all. So I'm not very sure if you all are teachers, okay? I'm sorry if I addressed you as Om. I should rather say Om Sir, perhaps. Now, what do we call the person who faces the questions, who answers the questions? Yes, Arko was ready. Yes. Correct. Yes, Arko, Sagar, Ayush, Jeet, Indrajit. Thank you all, and that's the correct spelling as well. So that was just to make you a little active before we begin. So it's the interviewer and the interview. From your definitions given for interview, it can be concluded that an interview is a meeting, often face-to-face, where the interviewer asks oral questions and elicits oral information from the interviewer. Depending upon several criteria, the interviews could be of many types. For example, depending upon the purpose of the interview could be job interview, education admission interview, where you're seeking admission into PhD or MPhil, you may be subject to interview. Research interview, when you conduct a research, you may be interviewing the samples, your subjects, or information interview, entertainment interview. Sometimes you watch the interviews or read the interviews of famous personalities and celebrities. So depending upon the context, interview could be formal, semi-formal, or informal. And depending upon the format, the interview could be structured, semi-structured, or unstructured. And the medium could be face-to-face, phone call, or now these days we have online video interviews. Depending upon the number of people involved, the interview could be one-to-one interview or a panel where a group of people ask one person the questions, or it could be a group interview as well in order to save time. So these are the different types of interviews depending upon the several criteria. We are not delving deep into it because our focus is on effective performance, right? Presentation at the interviews. So our focus is perhaps on the job interview. An interview is a selection procedure designed to predict future job performance based on applicants' oral responses to oral queries. So said Gary Dessler. He's a famous writer who writes books on human resource management. And according to him, it's a selection procedure which predicts future job performance. Now, here's another task for you all. I want you all to click this link and write down certain do's and don'ts on that link. Okay, I'm sharing the link with you all in the chat box. You need to click the link and write whatever do's and don'ts about interview that you can think of. Click the given link. No need to write your name. Just write some do's and don'ts we need to remember for an interview. I said no need to write your name. Just write the do's and don'ts. So now we can see your name on the screen. We want to see your response. Wow, honest. That's so very important, to be honest. I'm quietly reading all their responses. True. Wow, I'm getting some very good reminders from you all. Yes. A few more seconds and then we shall stop because we need to be conscious of the time limit as well. A few more seconds and then I shall stop. Yes, that's so important. So be confident and honest. Don't get stressed. First listen, then answer. Don't be over smart. Don't panic. Create a good first impression. Listen to the questions carefully before answering. Respect. Be polite. Be on time. Be presentable. Don't fumble. We should be confident. Yes, so confident word is repeated much often do your homework. Don't falsify information. That's right. Yeah, good rapport building. That's so very important. Good body language. Yes, that's so crucial in an interview. Don't sit in the chair until the interviewers say, that's right. So you all need to, like, you all seem to be very well aware of how to face an interview. So let's discuss it more and let's try to make it interactive. Okay, so I am stopping this now. If you want, you may continue typing, but I shall look at it later. I'm just closing the screen now. Thank you all for your responses. So let's get back to this PPT and let's proceed. That was quite interesting, being honest. Confident is, of course, very common. And someone also mentioned, don't sit unless asked, and don't falsify body language, all this, right? So now, interview is a very important phase in one's life, like whether it's career or higher education. Most of us will definitely have to face an interview, perhaps for marital proposal as well, right? So interviews are of different kinds, and we may face an interview at certain point in our life. And let's talk about the job interview. When you receive the information that you're being invited for the job interview, that's such a happy moment. And it brings happiness as well as anxiety. Now you need to get ready for the interview. So what do we need to do before we face the interview? There is some preparation that we need to do. And this preparation will definitely help us perform better in the interview. We can present ourselves more effectively during the interview when we do all this homework. Find out about the organization. What do you think this means? Can anyone respond to me orally? Oral response to this. Find out about the organization.
To know about the functions of organization.
Yes, that's absolutely right. I'm sorry I can't see your name, but thank you so much for your correct answer. Before we go to face the interview, let's do some research. Let's find out some information about the organization that we're going to. It could be an educational institution or a company. So you need to do a little Googling, a little research. What is that organization? What does it do? What does it excel in? What is it all about? What products does it sell, or what kind of institution it is? Familiarize yourself with that organization. Do a little research, get some information. Know the job duties and pay scale. You have applied for that certain job. They're calling you for a certain position, right? Understand the job duties, the job description, what you're expected to do. Absorb it. This is what they expect you to do. Find out whatever you can about that job, what you will be required to do, the duties and responsibilities, and the pay scale, how much you can expect. Because at the time of interview, you may be required to talk about the salary. So you should have an idea in this organization, how much do they offer for this position. So get a rough estimate about the salary that you might expect. Update and absorb your resume. Now, at this point, may I ask a quick question? What's the difference between resume and CV? Oral responses are preferred because it takes time for me to go to the meet and see the chat. Any oral response? What's the full form of CV?
Curriculum vitae, ma'am.
Curriculum vitae.
Yes, that's right. Yes. So what could be the difference between resume and CV? Are they the same, or is there any difference?
Resume.
Yes.
It's not a resume.
Resume. Would anyone like to respond? Oral responses. What's the difference between resume and CV? Anybody?
Ma'am, resume presents a history of your skills and all, and qualification. And CV presents academic credentials of the length of the document.
What length? Okay, you're right, you're closer. There could perhaps be any definitions for both. What I understand is actually the length. CV, curriculum vitae, has all the vital information about your curriculum, the detailed information about your qualifications, about the positions that you have held, academic and professional details. Resume is very brief. It is concise. It is to the point. CV is detailed. with all the specific things that you have done in each course, perhaps under each program, the course, the projects that you have done. So we can understand that resume is much shorter than CV. CV runs to several pages, whereas resume could be of 1 page or 2 pages. So the major difference is the length and detail. CV is longer and more detailed than a resume. Now, you've already submitted your resume and they have called you, they have accepted your application and they have invited you for the interview. If in the meanwhile, okay, in that 1 week after you have submitted your resume, or after, in that 1 month, if you have done any new course, if you have achieved anything, if you have participated in anything, then you need to update it. Don't just trust on the resume that you have submitted it earlier. There may be some change, some modification, some addition to be made, okay, after your submission and when they have called. During that phase, if you have achieved anything, update your resume. Make copies and carry it with you to the interview place, to the organization, and absorb your resume very well. It's your resume. You have written it. It's all about you. So you should know it very well. They are going to dig deep into your resume. They are going to cross-question you, raise questions to you from your resume. They will be holding your resume in hand and keep interrogating you. So you should be very well aware of what you have written. Anything that you say orally should not contradict what is mentioned in the resume. You should not be doubtful about it, about any information. All the information that should be mentioned in the resume should be at the tip of your tongue. Okay, it should come very quickly to you. You shouldn't take time recollecting the information. So absorb your resume well and prepare your files and documents. Sometimes you're given instructions, bring 4 copies of the resume or bring 4 copies of the application or make 3 sets of all your certificates and bring to the interview. So follow the given instructions, and even otherwise, just have 1 or 2 copies of your resume and all the educational certificates and achievements. So prepare your files in a very professional way. Don't carry loose, unorganized papers. Arrange them well ahead in advance. Have nice folders. Invest some money in buying nice files which look very formal and official. So maintain 2 or 3 files like this of all the copies, and then you need to carry this with you to the interview place. Next, master the subject knowledge. Of course, you can't master your knowledge in a day or 2. So you will be tested in your subject knowledge. They are going to question you about certain concepts, certain theories. So brush it up a little. Perhaps you're good, or no miracle can happen within a day or overnight, but immerse yourself in it. Once you're done with everything, arranging the files, your resume and everything, then spend your time, the rest of the hours, studying your subject. They may question you about some important concepts, dates, theories. So brush it up a little. It's not going to be miraculous. You can't learn new things overnight, but being aware of it or immersing yourself in the subject just a little ahead of the interview will help you recall information very quickly. You will be able to relate things, connect things. It will be there fresh in your mind. It can help you recollect information very quickly. So try to master the subject knowledge and practice self-introduction. Most often, the interviewers ask you to introduce yourself in a minute or 2. Sometimes these instructions are written in the invitation letter, or sometimes even if it's not written, most of the time they do ask you to introduce yourself. Then don't assume that it's about you. You will be able to manage. You can say, my name is so-and-so, I'm so-and-so. No, it's not that easy. Please pen it down much ahead, before the interview. Script, write the whole script, what you're going to speak in self-introduction. It is very important. That's the key to performing effectively at any interview. The rest will come later. The most important is how you introduce yourself. Within that 1 minute or 2 minutes, how can you advertise yourself? You need to market yourself. You need to sell yourself, sell your services. So you need to focus on the most relevant things. Don't talk about your religion, family, or siblings, or pastimes. No, they are not concerned about that. They are concerned about your qualifications, about your talents, about your skills, about your achievements, how you can contribute, how you can be useful to them. So accordingly, prepare your self-introduction. Now, self-introduction can vary from company to company depending upon what they need, what they expect. So according to their requirements, what can impress them, you must modify your self-introduction. Okay, so try to focus on things which will attract them. In that 1 minute or 2 minutes, you must form a very good impression on them. So script it down, do rehearsals, memorize it, but speak very naturally and spontaneously there, as if you're speaking on the spot. But if you script it down, you will have very good vocabulary and you will not be wasting time recollecting information. You will not be wasting time focusing on unimportant things. You will be focusing only on things which will attract them. So it is always to be planned. It is always better to be planned ahead. Script your self-introduction and practice it, because you need to advertise yourself and they should choose you and not others. So in that 1 minute, make the best impression. Make a list of questions and answers. Okay, so what possible questions do you expect in an interview? Please write in the chat box. What questions are interviewers likely to ask us? What are the common questions? They're going to ask your experience. Why should I select you? Introduce yourself, your vision. What extra skills do you have? What are your hobbies? Your expertise. Why you want to do this job? Yes, where do you see yourself in 10 years? Your knowledge and interest, past experience. Yes, your strengths and weaknesses. If I were to ask you, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Are you ready to give this answer? Do you know clearly what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Have you understood yourself, your personality? Yes, these are some of the questions, common questions that they tend to ask. Okay, of course, your qualifications, achievements, skills, talents, hobbies, your strengths, your weaknesses, why we should hire you, how you can contribute, what's your passion. Yes, all these questions. So if you want to Google, you may Google and watch some videos and prepare a list of tentative questions and plan certain answers. Just be mentally prepared. You don't need to write down the script for every question. Otherwise, it would look mugged up and, artificial. Just plan your answer. If they're going to ask me this, I'm going to answer this. Be mentally prepared. You can expect these questions. And even if they ask you other questions, you will somehow have some content in mind, what to say. And practice the interview. Before you go to face the interview, practice it individually or with a friend. Practice your self-introduction speech. Imagine they're asking you any question and then try to say the answer to that question. You may do certain rehearsals. Students may attend this. You may do certain rehearsals with your friends. So practicing will give you a lot of confidence because you are familiar with that kind of feeling, of being interviewed. So practice a lot and plan to ask some questions. Usually, the interviewers at the end of the interview say, do you want to ask anything? Do you have any questions? So what sort of questions can be asked then? Can you please write in the chat box? Yes, domain or skill, soft skill, yes. Yes, you're right. All your responses are correct. We are just gathering everyone's opinion. Please let me know if they ask you, would you like to ask any question at the end of the interview? What would you ask them? Will you? Okay. I wouldn't do that. I would leave it to them to open their mouth about salary. Okay, let's see. Okay, scope of work and client. At the end. Okay, if you imagine you're faced an interview, you're going to join that organization. What is it that you want to know about that organization? Facilities and salary, scope of career. Yes, all of you are correct. Their future plans. Okay, opportunities. The objective, their growth and development. Okay, that's right. Okay. What will I get doing this job? Promotions. Vision. Okay. Yes, you will inquire about the working environment. You may inquire about the timings, the facilities they offer, the transport facilities, is there any code of dress, any uniform, and etc. All the details that you have mentioned. Absolutely right. So we may prepare, 2 or 3 points that we want to really genuinely know about the company. We couldn't know on internet, and therefore you would like to know from them. So plan to ask certain questions and do take care of your health and hygiene. Just a night before the interview, eat well, make sure that you eat healthy so that it doesn't affect your health next day. All these little things matter a lot. It might cause you headache or abdominal pain. So we need to be, smart in all these things. So go to bed on time, have a good night's sleep, because rest will definitely make you feel more relaxed that day. You will be more calm. Or restless night, sleepless night, headache, anxiety, confusion, then you may have a bad mood, bad temperament that day. So take good care of your health and hygiene. Needless to say, you must take a bath, maintain oral hygiene, and you have to dress up formally. So when you go for the interview, don't be overdressed or underdressed. Be culturally sensitive to the organization, to the organization's culture and work ethos. Be sensitive. Don't shock them with your dress. Don't use shocking colors. So plan your dress ahead in advance. Formal, professional wear without caps, no t-shirts, no jeans, no showy jewelry or attention grabbing, attention seeking ornaments. No, it has to be very simple, light. Women may wear light makeup, not very dark and loud, not very showy bags, very decent, formal, official, professional wear from, head to toe. Well-kept hair, a proper bag, all the accessories that you carry, the pen you carry, the bag you carry, the files that you carry, the handkerchief, you should wear socks. All these things matter a lot, okay? So plan ahead in advance, dress up formally, dress up for that occasion. Don't be underdressed or overdressed. And because your dress would speak volumes about your taste, about your knowledge, how to go for an interview. Plan ahead and arrive in time early that day. So next day you have an interview, arrange for the transportation. Plan A, if that doesn't work, then you must have plan B. Who is going to drop you? How far is it? When do you need to wake up? When do you need to go? How long do you need to travel? And don't just arrive on time. It is better to arrive in time. Go there much earlier so that you have time to settle there, relax there, move around, drink water, arrange files. You will get familiar with the surrounding. You will get familiar with the people there. Those who just rush up and reach on time and just within 10 minutes they have their interview, they will be restless, they will not be settled, they will be very, confused. And people who have reached that venue much ahead in advance will be more comfortable, more confident than those who will be rushing towards the end. So try to reach your venue much ahead in advance so that you get comfortable with the surrounding, the situation, the people there. And breathe, visualize, feel, and visit. And sometimes some people have anxiety problems, they feel confused, stressed, nervousness, etc. So meditation, good night's sleep, deep breathing exercises will help them calm down. Before the interview begins, even when you're sitting there, you can just practice deep breathing. That will help you calm down. And I really mean it. It definitely does help. Do practice deep breathing. It will re-energize you, okay? And when you are practicing for the interview at home, you must actually visualize it. Visualization has great power. Visualize you are in that boardroom. Visualize yourself seated in front of 4 to 5 board of directors or recruiters or the employers, authorities. You're sitting alone and you're facing your questions. So imagine it. Create that scene in your mind's eye. See yourself doing it. Visualize it, even whether it's public speaking or any task like this. When you practice it or before the actual moment, please visualize it. Your mind will get used to it. Your mind will get familiar or acquainted with that feeling. So when you actually face that moment, you will not be that anxious. You will be perhaps more comfortable because your mind is familiar with visualizing it. So visualization has great power. Try to visualize the situation. And when you're doing rehearsal, imagine yourself seated in front of 6 to 7 questions. Get that feel, okay? Feel that thing that, I shouldn't say feel that anxiety, but feel that seriousness of the situation. And if possible, it is always recommended that you visit, if possible, if it is feasible, better to visit the venue one day before the interview. If you go there, if you know the organization, if you know the setting, what kind of a building it is, where it is, that will also help. Okay, so visiting the place might also help you become more confident the next day. And of course, needless to say, before you walk into the room, remember to switch off your phone. So you wouldn't want your phone to be ringing when you are actually facing that 10-minute interview in the room. Next, now during the interview, your name is called. Don't get anxious. Walk very professionally to the door, open the door, ask for permission. Once you enter, don't greet while entering. Stand at your place. Of course, you can know it where you need to stand. Stand there, look at the people, give them eye contact, and greet loudly and cheerfully. Don't just mumble in your mouth, good morning, good afternoon. No, say it very clearly, very cheerfully, looking at all with confidence, maintaining eye contact. Good morning, everyone. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. And smile. Smile is very important. You may be nervous, you may be anxious, so don't reflect it through your body language, through your facial expressions. Smile, have a pleasant appearance, have a pleasant facial countenance. Look, maintain a good posture. When you stand, when you sit, when you walk, take care of your body language, take care of your posture. We shouldn't be bending too much in front, we shouldn't be slouching or crouching. Just maintain a good body posture, back erect. It wouldn't come as a miracle that day. We need to adopt a good posture, even in our daily life, right? Even when we are sitting in our classrooms or at home, or when we are walking, just have good posture with our backs erect. Stand firm. When we are standing, we shouldn't put weight on one hip or stretch one leg. Always, get into that attitude of professionalism that we walk, we sit, we stand formally, professionally. Body erect, straight body. Sit only when asked, as was mentioned by one of you in the chat. Yes, we should, there will be a chair. Don't just go pull the chair and sit. No, stand, say hello, everybody. Good afternoon, everyone. And then sit only when asked. Now you can say hello or good afternoon, depending upon the people. Okay, if you are a fresher, if you don't know them completely, then perhaps only formal good afternoon or good morning will do. If I know those people and I'm going for a promotion, etc., maybe I can afford to say hello, good afternoon, everybody. So it depends upon the context, the people, okay, whether you know them or you don't. Next, maintain eye contact. This is so important. In your anxiety, don't stare at just one person. You may be scared to look at all, but you have to look at all. You have to at least pretend that you're looking at all. When you're giving self-introduction, don't stare at your shoes, at the floor, or on the ceiling. Some of us do it, right? Some students do that. They keep staring at one corner of the room. No, don't do that. Practice this. When you are giving speeches or when you are speaking to others, maintain eye contact. Avoid fidgeting. What is fidgeting? Would anyone like to respond orally? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely you are audible.
Yeah, can anyone help me with the word fidgeting? What does it mean?
Buffering?
Really restless, I suppose.
Yes, you're right.
Nervousness?
Yes, nervousness. Yes, you're right. All of you are right. And I don't know if anyone is writing in the chat. I can't see the chat. I don't want to access it in order to save time. Yes, with fidgeting, we understand restless, anxious gestures, our body language or repetitive gestures which reveal our anxiety. Some people have the habit of pressing their fingers or tapping a pen or playing with the button of the shirt or they put hands in the pocket. Putting hands in the pocket is also informal. We shouldn't do that when we stand in front of elders or authorities or interview or public speaking. Avoid putting hands in the pocket, and don't keep pressing any paper or file or adjusting your scarf or dupatta. Don't keep adjusting your tie. These are all fidgeting behavior, repetitive anxiety gestures, actions which show that you are nervous. Don't do it. Some of us are perhaps used to doing it. We should be conscious. When we are doing the rehearsal, we can imagine, we must realize, I'm not going to do fidgeting. I'm not going to do any such gesture which will reflect my anxiety. If you're in the habit of pressing nails or adjusting your thing or pressing your bag, something repetitively they do, it's meaningless. So we should avoid fidgeting and maintain good body language. Sit straight, keep smiling, enjoy that movement. If there is nothing to be anxious or stressed, it's okay. It's just a job. It's not the end of the world. We will perhaps face more interviews. You will perhaps get better jobs. It's just an experience. You're meeting new people there. You're going to tell them about yourself. So just enjoy that moment. Don't be stressed. It's okay if you don't get the job. Okay, just focus on the experience. You're meeting new people. You're telling them about yourself. You have so much potential. You are definitely better than many others. Okay, it's not like you're a loser or you don't know anything. Nothing like that. Every person has a spark. Every person can contribute to society. Every person can contribute to the organization. It's okay if it's in your luck. You may get it. It's okay, but don't feel anxious, nervous, stressed. Just enjoy the moment. I know it's difficult to like, it's easy to say and difficult to do. Enjoy the moment, enjoy. No, really, I really mean it. It's just a job. It's not the end of the world. You're meeting new people. Introduce yourself. Take it as an experience. If you're selected, it's good. Otherwise, you will have perhaps better prospects, better opportunities. Enjoy that moment. In a sense, at least maintain that, artificial pleasantness on your face. Don't be serious. Some people are so serious that they keep their mouth open. Okay, and sometimes some people are so serious that they always have a question mark on their faces. Okay, expecting questions from others, doubting, not able to understand, squinting their eyes, bringing their eyes closer to concentrate. No, relax. If you don't, you can ask them to repeat very lightly. You don't need to be stressed. Listen attentively and completely. Whatever they are saying, pay attention. Listen very carefully. Don't interrupt. Let them complete the question. Understand the question. Listen attentively and completely. If you don't understand it, ask for repetition. Ask for clarification in a very polite way and speak formally. Avoid informal words, slang words, dude, WhatsApp, guys, etc. Just try to use formal professional language and communicate effectively. Now, this will not come as a one-day miracle. We'll have to work on it every day so that we all develop our communication skills very effectively. Every time we speak, let us enjoy the speaking experience. Let us focus on all the sounds. When we are speaking, we should be conscious of the sounds that we are uttering. If we lay emphasis, if we focus on clearly pronouncing all the words that we are speaking, we will definitely learn to speak better, loudly, audibly, clearly. Sometimes some people speak and we need to ask 2-3 times because we're not able to understand. There is lack of clarity. So speak clearly, focus on the pronunciation, and this will not come as, suddenly overnight. We need to work on it, work on improving our communication skills every day. Every day when we talk, whatever language we talk, let us focus on pronunciation and try to speak very clearly so that the other person gets our message immediately without any misunderstanding. Avoid interrupting others, as has already been explained. Avoid gap fillers. I remember our former speaker, the respected speaker before me, was also talking about people using such words as honestly, and sir has also given some other examples like, well, and some people say, So when we are talking to one another in our daily life, or when we are giving speeches or facing the interviews, learn to speak fluently and continuously. Consciously avoid gap fillers. Such sounds as trying to connect things, trying to recollect things, or like. Some people are in the habit of saying like, or okay, well, well. So all these are actually gap fillers. They are meaningless words, and a person who is good at communication can easily point out these gap fillers in your language when you speak. So let us all try to avoid gap fillers when we are talking. Ask for repetition politely. Sometimes it happens that it had happened with me actually. 3-4 times the person repeated the question and I was not able to understand what he's asking because he's from a different state and I was not able to understand his accent. But we have to be very resilient, very patiently, politely, and very courteously we need to ask for the repetition till we understand the question. And it can happen. You never know who the other people would be, who would be the interviewers from different states, from different countries, different accents could make it difficult for you to understand certain things. You need to behave very courteously. Modulate your voice well. It shouldn't look like you're speaking in a monotone, or especially when you give the introductory speech, because it is prepared. It shouldn't look artificial. Modulate your voice well. We must, as adults, be aware of how to modulate our voice according to the situation. How many people are there? How far are they sitting? What is the surrounding? How close or how big is the room? Accordingly, we have to raise and modulate our voice. It shouldn't be too loud, nor should it be too slow. It should be audible enough and clear so that others can understand your message very easily. So modulate your voice according to the number of people, the distance maintained, and the proxemics and the vicinity, okay, whether it's a big room and all that. So we have to take into consideration all these things when we speak so that we don't sound too loud, nor should we sound too soft. Next, answer to the point. It is so very important. Once you receive any question, don't keep on talking about it. Be concise, be brief, answer to the point, understand the question well, and speak to the point. Don't beat around the bush. Some of us have the habit of giving detailed descriptions of unnecessary things. No, let us get into the habit of speaking to the point, directly, precisely, concisely, meaningfully. Avoid arguments. If you differ from what they say, for sometimes, they ask you, they give you a situation. And they say, how would you react in such a situation? What would you do if this thing happens? They give you a scenario, and because they want to test your personality, they want to test certain soft skills in you, life skills in you, they may present you with a situation and ask your response for it. And if someone has, one of the people there has any different opinion, don't engage into argument. Or when you differ, you should say very politely, I respect your opinion, but I think I have a different opinion. I beg to differ. I appreciate your thoughts, but I think in different lines. And do accept what they say. Don't say it's wrong, it's incorrect, or avoid argument. Of course, none of us would dare to do that. But still, I'm just reminding, accept what they say and say, I respect your opinion, I appreciate your thoughts, but I think differently. And let's be honest. When you're talking about yourself, don't give false information. Don't brag about your achievements. Don't give any information which is untrue. Please be honest. Be relaxed and confident. Difficult to say, easy to say, but difficult to do, right? Be relaxed, and we should be, okay? All of us, most of us are learners here. Nobody is perfect. Everybody makes mistakes, and they are not superhumans. They are also human beings like us. So let us just relax and be confident about yourself. If we get through it, it's okay. Otherwise also it's okay. Let's stay positive. Don't think negatively. Don't get inferiority complex seeing other good looking people there, or perhaps professionally looking people there. Just stay positive. Think positively. Positive thinking will yield positive results. And try to be happy, cheerful during that phase. And negotiate salary diplomatically. I wouldn't initiate salary discussion. I would wait for them to touch upon that issue. Okay. And when they raise the issue, I would try to tackle it very diplomatically, politely, and keep it pending without saying a clear say. But when you do have to give a clear say, then you must have a rough estimate how much to expect. So that requires homework. When you are mentally prepared, how much to expect, you can then freely discuss. But you shouldn't sound, very materialistic as well, because they may not like people who are looking forward to such monetary gains often. So let us be conscious of that. And shaking hands. So it varies from culture to culture. It depends on the gender also. And never initiate it. Wait for them to do. If they offer, then do shake your hands firmly. And shake hands with only those who offer. Not all people in that room, not all the interviewers may offer. Okay, one or two may offer. So whoever offers, you shake hands, and when they offer, shake it firmly. And after the interview, I'll be very quick because it's almost 1:20 now. After the interview, thank clearly and politely. Do not say thank you while getting up, while pushing back your chair, while arranging your files, or keeping your phone in your pocket. No. When you say thank you, stand straight, look at them, smile, and say thank you loudly, clearly, politely, not as a burden. Thank you. No. You should mean it. Look at their faces, smile. They're human beings. Say thank you very politely. Put the chair back in its place. Okay, put it back close to the table. All of us must do it in every day. Also, when you visit any teacher's room, you sit in the chair. Okay, before you leave the room, put the chair back in its place, and then leave. Walk out professionally. Close the door gently. Take care of that also. It shouldn't bang after you leave. That would show your carelessness. So close the door gently, and as soon as you go back into the hall, there may be or may not be some other contestants, candidates there. Avoid comments or avoid expressing your reactions, like that, and avoid any kind of gossip. You never know. Maybe one of them, a person works there or is an employer there, may be sitting there to observe your professional behavior, etc. So avoid comments, avoid expressing reactions and gossip. Behave very professionally. And once done, when you are back, don't call them immediately the next day to ask for their response. Wait for their call patiently. If they want you, they would definitely call you back. It's not that they want you and they have forgotten to call you. So don't, call them, or just wait for their call patiently. You may call them only when it's needed. And after every interview, let's do some reflection. It was an experience, whether we get selected or not. Let's reflect. How did I do? What did I say? I shouldn't have said this. They asked me this. So that was an interesting point. That was a new point. I never expected this question. So let's introspect. Let's reflect and plan for improvement. Next time when I face an interview, I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to answer this question like this. I'm going to change this in my self-introduction. I need to be better dressed up when I go next time. So reflection and improvement. So these are the things we need to focus on after the interview. And from all this discussion, we learned that when you go for an interview, both substance and style matters. Okay, your content and as well as how you present yourself. Both verbal and non-verbal communication skills are important. So we need to work on improving our verbal communication, and we need to be conscious of our non-verbals also. Our body language, posture, how we walk, facial expression, eye contact, smile, and tone. Okay, voice, tone, how loud it is, etc. And what you wear, what things you carry, everything, all our non-verbal communication skills. We need to be careful about that as well. And let's just be positive, and I really mean it. If you ever face an interview in life, enjoy that experience. It's not the end of the world. Just enjoy. Be confident and talk honestly about yourself. It's okay to make mistakes. And language skills would not come overnight. We need to work on improving our language skills every day. So work on your language skills, try to, get correct grammar, correct pronunciation, good vocabulary. And then when you develop your effective communication skills, you will definitely shine at the interviews. Because see, people don't carry grades, right? We don't carry our grades, our marks on our foreheads, like I'm an A+ student. We don't carry, right? What do we carry with ourselves? Our personality, how we connect with others, how we interact with others, our confidence, the way we walk, the way we deal with others. So communication skills, soft skills are very important besides the academics. Now, suppose there may be one vacancy, 40 people will be called there, right? And all those 40 people deserve to be called. They're all A+ students. That's why they have been called. Now, all are A+. Who would get selected? Who would shine? Who has the confidence, who has the life skills, soft skills, communication skills, leadership skills, So just work on improving the overall personality. Academics are important. Besides academics, besides good grades, there are so many other things we all need to work on in order to shine, in order to perform better than the others in every walk of life. So here are some of the references that I have used. And thank you all. Any questions? And I regret that none of you have stopped me any time to ask a question.
Thank you, SameenaTabussum, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
I think there can be no question after this interactive session. The whole session was interactive and all participated in the discussion. In spite of that, if there is any question, participants, you can ask question. Sameena ma'am will reply. I think actually all the questions have been discussed during the session. Okay.
Just relax. And if there is anything that you want to ask, feel free and ask. Nobody is going to judge you or anything. Just let's discuss anything. Do you think we need to discuss something else? Any point we missed? Anything you want to share?
So probably there is no question. And although we broke the limit of time by 24 minutes, but I think all of us have been listening to the session captivating. So this was a wonderful session. It was really marvelous, awesome. And I thank Professor SameenaTabussum ma'am on behalf of Umeschandra College for your interactive presentation. Really speaking, we broke the limit of distance also. It seemed that we were all sitting in the single room. It was not a webinar and we are from very distant places, but it seemed that we are sitting in a single room. And I think...
Sir, we have a question from Ms. Nandita Sen. Would Sameena ma'am like to answer?
Okay, carry on.
In the chat box.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, ma'am. I was just reading it. And can they be eligible for... Yes. MA in... a candidate who has completed MA in ELT or English Language Studies is certainly eligible for NET in English Literature and Linguistics because they are allied subjects. Okay, even if we are not talking about that specific subject, NET is permissible in allied subjects. And once you do MA in ELT or English Language Studies, there are plethora of opportunities for employment in different companies. In this day of technology, we all understand the importance of English language. It's not just about your job is not limited to teaching English. You could end up in translation field. You could end up in any MNC writing content for them, for their websites. So as far as I understand, English has a large scope, a lot of scope, I must say, very bright scope, a lot of opportunities for people. Of course, you find teaching positions for English in every school, every institution, right? They may perhaps go without nutrition or go without psychology, but no school or no institution would go without English. So definitely job opportunities are plenty. And with the coming up of MNCs, yes, we have vacancies for content writer, content developer, translation, and there's a lot of written work that is expected from the ELT people. So yes, there are lots of job opportunities, and we can do NET also. Sir, you're muted.
I request you to please unmute yourself. Burman sir, please unmute yourself.
Yes, please. Once again, I thank Sameena ma'am for her wonderful session. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Burman sir. Thank you all.
Yes. Now I request Professor Sohini Som to give her concluding remarks about the whole session. Sohini ma'am, please.
Good afternoon, Professor Dr. Mohammad Tafazal Haq, respected resource persons, my esteemed colleagues, dear students, and our honorable guests. I have been conferred the honor of summing up this extremely lively, fascinating, and enriching session. Dr. Madhab Ray gave the keynote address, which touched on the history of ELT, on competence and communicative competence, the different objectives that compel students to learn different languages, and so on. He traced the history of ELT that had its initiation in the 1940s in the USA and spread throughout the world, and then zoomed into the Indian scenario, both pre and post-independence, on how English slowly replaced Persian as a language of communication post-independence. And post-independence, India became the link language in a multilingual nation. He spoke on the different methods of English learning and differentiated grammatical and communicative competence, the different barriers of communication, including cultural aspects or language learning, including the learning a different language, including the cultural aspects, the paralinguistic aspects, and the importance of meaning that is particular to certain terms used in certain cultures, and also the limitations of the communicative method. He said that there is no set formula to teach English, and the teacher has to customize the teaching process according to the requirement of the students. Our second resource person was Mr. SatyawanPolist, who spoke on ELT in the digital era. He observed that the English students these days do not speak up to the mark. So what are the teachers doing? In India, he said that the vernaculars, the knowledge of the vernaculars interfere with the English that we speak, but as long as it is internationally intelligible, it's fine. In fact, hearing him speak, I was reminded of G.B. Shaw's Spoken English and Broken English, and which also spoke about the different types of English that is spoken all around the world. He stressed on the skills that one has to acquire while learning English, because it is a skill-based subject. He spoke on the natural aspects of learning English, that is learning and speaking, and also the aspects that require a formal education or a formal setup, that is reading and writing. He spoke about the problems of digital classrooms, like the internet connectivity problems, and he also said that the students these days cannot concentrate or are not interested in what the teachers are teaching, because the internet offers much more interesting options. So the teacher has to be more innovative and to hold the interests of the students. He also gave certain possible solutions of using the media, that is the technology, the new technology that is available to us to complement their teaching in order to hold the interest of the audience. Our third resource person, Dr. SaquibAbrar, spoke on soft skills and communicative English. He defined soft skills as an umbrella term that also includes communicative English, and said that a person defines and says that the skills that a person acquires defines his productivity and on how well he can do in life. Without soft skills, he said, hard skills like your educational qualification, etc., have no significance. Acquiring soft skills is a continuous process and needs a constant working on learning and relearning. He spoke on the psychological barriers that the speaker of English faces. He said that this is that just because a person does not answer a question does not mean that he does not know. He just lacks certain skills and stressed on the fact that these problems must be surmounted. Apart from other obstacles, a speaker needs to avoid mannerisms. To learn, people must be open to learning all the time. A speaker should also have the charisma to attract his listeners. Also, a speaker of English requires introspection to better his skills. Team effort and ethics are also important soft skills that one must acquire to supplement his language skills. Dr. SameenaTabussum spoke on the effective presentation skills at an interview. From the outset, it was not a lecture, rather an interactive session. She invited the audience to answer certain questions before elucidating on different topics. She spoke on the various types of interviews, like formal, informal, structured, unstructured, group interviews, one-to-one interviews, and also spoke on the preparations that have to be made before the interview, what is to be done, and what you cannot do during an interview, and what the interviewee has to do on the day of the interview. And she focused not only on the linguistic communication, but also on non-verbal communication. Overall, her session was more of a fun session in which the lecture was interspersed with invitations to answers, interspersed with invitations in which she asked the audience to answer certain questions, and it was a very effective session. On the whole, I think all the were very helpful and effective.
Thank you, Sohini ma'am, for your concluding remarks. Now we are at the end of the session. I would like to invite Dr. Mahasweta Bhattacharya, Secretary, Teachers Council, Umeschandra College, to deliver vote of thanks. Mahasweta ma'am, please.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. As we conclude this webinar, I am delighted by witnessing such a grand success of this webinar. It was quite an interactive session. Good participation in today's webinar will encourage the concerned department to organize such much bigger seminar in the coming years. Thank you is such a prayer that cannot be seen or touched. It must be felt by heart. I feel honored and privileged to get the opportunity to propose a vote of thanks on this special occasion. I, on behalf of our college, express my deep regards and gratitude to all esteemed speakers of the webinar for their presence and contribution to make this webinar a great success. Despite of your busy short notice, I offer my heartiest thanks. Very much thankful to Dr. Mohammad Tafazzal Haq, principal of our college, for providing immense support to make the webinar successful. I would like to thank Professor Pierre Das, coordinator IQAC, Professor Bosmon, head of English department, and Professor Marcy Hembrom to organize this webinar. I'm thankful to other faculty members of the Department of English for working hard for the past few days to make this webinar successful. Last but not the least, I want to extend a vote of thanks to our admin staff for making this event so beautiful. Thank you everyone present here for taking your valuable time out and ensuring your precious presence here, making it a great success. Hope we continue to work like this and organize such events in the future also. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mahasweta ma'am, for your vote of thanks. And now it is time to leave the session. And I once again thank you all the participants and all the resource persons. And yes, Mercy.
Sir, a small reminder, I urge all participants to please fill up the feedback form. The link is in the chat box. I urge all participants to kindly fill the feedback form. Your e-certificates will be based on this feedback form. So to receive your e-certificates, kindly fill up the feedback form.
Mr. Burman, you must inform this, the e-certificate when you distribute and the participants, they will get it. You must inform this to the participants also, okay?
Yes, sir. Marcy has already informed that and a feedback form will be given to the feedback link will be given, and all the participants should fill up that feedback link and submit that feedback link, and after that they will get the e-certificate. Okay. That's all for today, and goodbye. Have a nice day.